Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Trader TV Live. Futures starting out in positive territory with the NQ up almost 0.5%. The ES looking flat right now, up 0.6. The Dow and the Russell in negative territory, with crypto trying to rebound after dropping below 100,000 to start the week. Currently trading at $95,666. Lots to talk about today. Looks like we're going to have more belligerencies between East and West, with the U.S. launching a probe into Chinese legacy semiconductors. Also, more semiconductor news, with Qualcomm and Arm finally resolving their legal dispute on Friday, sending Arm shares down 2% here in the pre-market. Tesla deliveries also on watch, as some analysts predict they may come in lighter than expected. And Rumble getting a nice deal from Tether, $775 million investment. Good morning.
Good morning, Sharif. I have to say, I was not expecting the amount of catalyst that we have this morning, as you were just saying, that Rumble and Arm suit. It's going to be really interesting. Initially, it just came out the part where the jury siding with Qualcomm and some of the claims. Then later it comes out they end up having a bit of a mistrial in the rest. So that story could still be ongoing. Tesla, of course, on watch as well. Will we get 450 again? Because right now we're in that mid 430s area. So should be a very exciting day, even though this is going to be a holiday shortened week.
It is. Let's talk about though, as we mentioned, Nissan and Honda actually getting through their key merger details. We'll talk more about that. It looks like things are progressing quite quickly and should, initially be concluded by June of 2025. Separately, Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk also in focus, as their key weight loss drug now being helping with sleep apnea. So another use. And Faraday Futures. I love when these small cap gapper EVs are moving up in the pre-market, already up 7%. Good headline there. We don't have any economic numbers today, right?
No, we did have the a pretty small one here. The Chicago National Activity Index coming in at negative 0.12. We were expecting negative 0.15, so not much. But at 10 a.m., we're going to get a couple here, new home sales and CB consumer confidence. All
right, we'll keep an eye out on that this morning. Obi in for Sean today. Good morning, boys.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I thought for a second, it's not Christmas Eve. So, Christmas Day, sweater day is going to be tomorrow. So I figured I'll just go with a little t-shirt and have a little something and I'd be okay. And then Obi had to just take it to another level over here.
Oh?
I don't know if everyone can read. You guys can read that?
I don't know.
There we go.
Like that?
Yo, legit.
I mean, here's the thing. I saw it. There's very few articles of clothing that I'll be like, this is something that I gotta get. But then when I saw this in the store, I'm like, yeah, that's definitely mine. But I don't think I'll be on tomorrow. So I was like, yeah, I'll bring in the sweater today. It is the season. So hopefully you guys are doing well today. A little bit of a shortened week. With the Christmas holidays. Yep. So hopefully, let's see if this market will give us some festive color today. To the downside, to the upside, I have no idea.
Don't say to the downside. We don't want that.
But it doesn't matter. What does it matter where it goes? As long as there's opportunity. I think that's the main priority.
You can trade either direction. Yeah. But I say it every single time. We always prefer if the market is going up. It's just more fun that way. That way you can cheer on your trades and you can cheer on your long term. But we were just talking about a wath of chip names that haven't been that good that are looking very interesting today. Like AMD, we'll get into all these, but like AMD, we were just talking about bouncing off the August low, channel bottom. Like, how's that for a reversal setup? Remember, we drew this one. It goes right into the low, and so simultaneously with the August bottom, rewind the tape. And I think you can get some continuation here. All it has to do is hold on a prior close. NVIDIA's got a similar look. And then the third one would be, now this doesn't look like it's channeling yet, but Intel, it's also bouncing off a double bottom. And a couple of days worth of resistance that it can plow through if it can break out a 19.8. So there's a few tasty names here this morning that are going to be on the radar, including Rumble, obviously with a little bit of a gap up. There's a lot to watch here. I don't have too many bearish names, but ARM would have been certainly one of them. And Tesla with a nice gap up as well. So you have a lot to watch. This is one of those, when it's a holiday shortened week, a lot of times there's generally good opportunities for trading. but you want to make sure you usually don't want to fight trends too hard off of the open, because there's, relatively speaking, there's always more volume at the open than later on in the day, but relatively speaking, it's a little bit exacerbated, certainly tomorrow more so than today, but you don't want to fight that early trend. You want to make sure you get something right, you want to be able to hold it, but you don't want to be fighting between 9:30 and 9:35.
Yeah, do you think that normally low volume, or if we're playing something that's in play, maybe has a catalyst, that volume does tend to come in and kind of focus on just those names?
Oh yeah, like the catalyst names, don't even worry about it. But like with the chip names here, like there's no specific catalyst for Intel.
Maybe just technical breakouts.
Yeah, technical breakouts that can be a catalyst. But it's very different, the names that have news.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe a different volume profile, literally, that comes in. But yeah, no, I got a couple names on watch, but nothing too crazy. Let's see what we do with some of these names. We saw the move on ARM with the Qualcomm news. I just kind of saw that this morning here. Some day two plays as well. I'm going to be watching Nike and NVO as well. I don't think there's too many earnings reports this week. Pretty light in terms of earnings reports for this holiday week, and so nothing too crazy there. But we start right up in a couple of weeks there. I think January, second week of January, we start right back up with some decent earning names. So yeah, that's usually the case between earnings cycles. About a week or two of relatively less, not always totally dead, but relatively less names that report their earnings, and then it starts right back up. So it's a beautiful thing, because like when you have strategies and playbook around earnings names, you're only kind of looking elsewhere for about a couple weeks until those earnings names kind of come back in.
It's always earnings season.
Yeah.
You know what? You said there weren't many for earnings, but don't forget earnings continuation plays.
Yes. Nike. I'm looking at Nike for that very
Nike
reason.
and Carnival.
Oh, yeah.
CCL. CCL was the one they reported last week. So, and I will get back to the desk in a quick second, but CCL made the reversal off a 52-week high. Like, it was a pretty hefty double top on CCL, and it tried to break. This is 27.20 in here. And on Friday, it tried to break the 27. You can see the reversal it put in. It's still close enough to set up a breakout of that top, that 27.20. So this is a day two play. Obviously, I mean, as a day trader, okay, well, if it breaks 27 and doesn't get through 27.20, then to me, that's a short back through 27. If it fails to 27.20, doesn't even get there. But if it gets to 27.20, that's a breakout long. So, there's always going to be, earnings season is pretty much all the time. But there's almost always some kind of a continuation play that you can watch for. This is the earnings continuation on my board. Let's head on back to the desk.
All right, guys, Nordstrom on watch here, down 1.5% here in the pre-market. Not doing a whole lot of volume, but there is this headline, guys. Nordstrom agrees to a $6.25 billion buyout deal from the founding family. Adair, you have more information on this.
Yes, we do. So basically, it is going to be acquired here by the family, Nordstrom family here, the founding family of the company, and also El Puerto de Liverpool. It's going to be a cost of $24.25 per share. The deal is going to be valued at a total of $6.25 billion. It does include a 42% premium and a special 25-cent per share dividend. And this is part of the company's plan to go private. We've heard mentioned this before. It's worth noting volume on this, not a ton yet, about 31.76 thousand shares traded right now in the day.
Yeah, we've been quite consolidative here since mid-fall, or early fall, I should say, with that $20 to $25 level. So I have to keep an eye out on that. Volume still light here in the pre-market, guys, about 32,000 shares. But this one, I feel, may become a little bit more active after the bell. What say you?
Yeah, so that's an interesting deal. I'm surprised it's not doing any volume. And there's with the special dividend, I'd expect to see better volume than that on JWN. I think that's a pretty big disappointment. The Nasdaq's about to turn red here. Like, this is, well, see, now I'm going to blame Obi for this one, because we were just talking about the market and we prefer if it goes up and all that good stuff. And the ES is already red. Sorry, I was on an ES chart. And the Nasdaq is now only up 0.08 as we're now headed back in toward the lows. The ES is turned red and I guess threatening, it's underneath 6 thou here and threatening to go to the downside. Like, pretty much everything is bleeding not bleeding is probably the wrong word, but everything is pulling back pretty decently. Like I just looked at one of the strong names we were mentioning, NVIDIA and the chips that were looking like they were set for a bit of a breakout. You're certainly starting to pull back a little bit here. I'm just joking about it because Obi said there's opportunities in either direction, which is true. You can go short. There's nothing wrong with going short. No issues going short. Just thought we had a few better looking long setups on breakouts this morning that are getting a little bit out of the way. That said, you know, some things like Apple's still green, and I know it doesn't look like much for Apple, but just going to quickly point out this is an all-time high test here for Apple, and it's had these types of days where you get a rejection, it chills around, then breaks back out and pulls back. I think it's in that zone where it's going to have to find its way off of that high as well. So I think this is certainly going to be one to watch. Oh, no way, Matt Carnes, or Matt C. We got Matt C. and Jam Lossy in the same, like, back-to-back telling me that Tilray showing strength. Why not? We can do it. I was about to say I seriously doubt it's showing any real strength. But you know what? Hey, it's up 8 points today. Not entirely sure. I'll check to see if there's a story on Tilray here. Volume's only about 3 million shares. You'll see it's pretty solid, but most of that's probably just a dark pool print. And popping all over to the 3-minute chart, you're going to see it's like a little tiny bit of strength, and it's not really doing anything in the pre-market outside of trying to hold on to the gap. So yeah, it might be worth watching. Don't get me wrong, but there's a few other small caps, like Relly is certainly I call it Relly. It's Reliance Global Group. This is doing a heck of a lot more volume, and like long or short, I feel like this is the kind of volatility you're going to want out of a small cap, up 250%. What I will tell you about this RELI, be very careful here. Now, this is a reverse split. Now, look at what happened to this stock. Reverse split, and then closes at 459 the day after the reverse split, tries to go up. Next day, opens that price, dumps. Look at it hold that level, hold. Now, you tell me, do you think a fund was short this on the reverse split and holding that price? What do you think? What it looks like to me. And then all of a sudden it gets released off of a double bottom. Where does it top out? Right around that same level today. So if it can't break out the top, it's not squeezing anybody. And this would be a dangerous one. Like I wouldn't be trying to chase longs up in the 4.5 to 5 range on this stock, just based on what I see in the daily. It's either you've got it low with a tight stop, or it's breaking out above $5 and holding a bid up there. To me, I almost want to pay for some locates on the chance it fails a break, and whomever was selling it before might be selling some again. Yeah, I'd look at this more than I would look at Tilray, but that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think something else that's interesting. Again, okay, wow. Are you noticing this market, Neil? We are cracking more aggressively to the downside right now, with a strong sell-off, trading below 6,000 now on the ES, coming right back into what is this 21,550s on the Nasdaq, and yeah, nothing else kind of standing out to me right now other than this market drop, and I'm just like, all right, well, are we kind of poised for? Is this giving us a signal for the rest of the day here? Are we starting a little early to the downside? I have no idea. Bitcoin trading at 95s, almost 95 cleans. NVIDIA at 135. Wow. Apple at 254s. Really we saw that 250 break last week. That was nice. Alphabet, Google not really doing anything too much other than consolidating in the 190s. We saw that 200 break just last week as well. So could be interesting. Again, not really expecting too much, but waiting and seeing if anything will fall into my lap to see if there's any sort of decent opportunities. But yeah, QUBT has been a hot one. We were talking to a bunch of traders on Friday. We had our poker night on Friday. That was pretty fun. Pretty solid. Got to meet some interesting traders.
You cleaned up,
new faces, and sorry.
I have ample respect because it was down to like 3.
Yes.
So the final table was down to 3 players, and at the time you were third and you were short stack, and there was a discussion about, hey, are they going to divide it like it's winner take all, top 2 or 3, and the consensus was top 2. And despite being short stack, you're down with that.
Yeah, I was down with that. What was disappointing to me, though, was that so right after so I have to figure, because I'm still I'm still learning poker, let's say. So at the end, I think the hand was a flush, right? Both of us had flushes. I went all in on my flush. It was clubs. Just they had a higher club on the flush. That makes sense. But in terms of like pot odds, that's what I couldn't necessarily understand. Was it 25% or was it above 20? Was it between 50 to 25%? Because I think I had a 9 of clubs, so I was like, there's 7 cards below me. There's 3 on. 3 or 4 on the river. Anyways,
it gets complicated.
Yeah,
like
I was trying to figure out what the probability actually was, and I was like,
it's a tough spot.
I don't know if I would have went all in if the probability was anything above 30 to 40% of the other player maybe having.
To simplify it. You were short stacked against the 2 monster stacks. You're never folding. You're probably going to get it all in with that flush.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get a better chance to double up. It's
yeah.
Like that's one of those. There's no way you're getting away from that. You're trying to double up in that situation, and if the guy's better flush, you're not going to get a better shot, and you're so short stacked it's your only chance. So I think to me that's.
What was disappointing though, that game ended quickly. I literally got off the table and I went towards the kitchen, and that game was over. And I was like, all right, I'm like, well, what happened? Because I didn't.
They were loose with the chips at the end.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I figured. I'm like, we worked so hard to get this far, only for you guys to just be like, Gra-ta-ta-ta.
By the way, I know we're gonna go to the desk and we have Michael Noss ready, but that Rigetti stock is
that moving?
Is gonna make another power move to the upside, but 28%. It just went 11 to 12. Yeah, this could be another one today. Rigetti. Flying here, just broke that $12 level. So this is another flyer. It just cannot seem to stop. Powerhouse. Could be a small cap, but the way these futures are going, where the market's going down, I feel like some of these small caps could be the ones here today, Sharif.
Absolutely could be. There's already a few triple-digit winners here, Neil, in small cap gapper world. But we're going to bring in Michael Noss this morning. We're going to talk a little crypto and some commodities. I see UNG's made it back onto the PowerPoint. I like that. Nat Gas. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Just a quick comment when Neil talking too about the small caps. Something I've always noticed, I think you guys do as well. When you have these holiday weeks, you have all the degens off work, right? Maybe you get a little bit more action in the space. That's what I've noticed anyway. You get a little bit crazier one way or another. But yeah, we're going to talk Nat Gas, the Widowmaker. I'm going back to the well on this. It's been good to me. I think I only had one great trade, but it still netted out. But just always want to preface, they call natural gas the Widowmaker for a reason. It makes insane moves one way or another. So just make sure you're sizing accordingly. Make sure you're understanding that because it's a 24-hour kind of an asset, they're going to use nat gas all over the world. That gaps one way or another and large gaps one way or another are going to be a pretty big deal. So you have to be careful about that. Again, just understanding this. But this heat map right here I put together is a heat map of all of the ETFs that I watch and how much they were up last week. Now, you see most things are in the red. Right? We had that crazy day. It pushed everything down. UNG right at the top. PFX is like this inflation hedge index that I use to kind of see how people are worried about inflation. And then Jets, which is hilarious. I talked about Alaskan Air last week. I got some of that. That's doing hilarious. I just think Jets is funny because it's just an awful industry, but it's been going crazy. So interested in UNG. So let's go to the next chart here where it's just the daily chart of UNG and just kind of highlighting this $14, $15 area. It's been playing around this all year. That first big bounce off 15, I did okay on. The second bounce off 15, I did less okay, but okay on as well. The 2 lines on the chart, the 2 indicators I have are the red line is the 200-day moving average. We've talked about this a lot with Neil, I remember in the after hour shows. You can see how it respects the 200-day moving average. It hits the 200-day moving average and falls, and hits the 200-day moving average and falls. So it's very much respecting this line. And we're right there now. So that's something that's very, very interesting to me. The purple line is the year-to-date anchored VWAP. The reason I love the year-to-date anchored VWAP because it just kind of shows if you were dollar cost averaging all year into natural gas, where would your price be? You can see a couple levels that it's respected that already this year, and it's back there as well. So we have this confluence of this major level that it's been playing off of all year. We have the 200-day moving average. We have the year-to-date anchored VWAP. So what I'm going to try to do is get a little bit cute and see if I can maybe sneak into a position expecting and hoping a break of these levels, a pretty strong break of these levels and a quick break of this level, but knowing that if we don't get that, I have to bail pretty quickly. So the next chart I have here just for UNG is the 30-minute chart, just to show this kind of 1550 area. If we do get a pullback, I see we're pulling back a little bit this morning. If we get a pullback and we hold that level on kind of a 15 or a 30-minute chart, a longer term chart, that could be an area to play off of. Or if we break 16, which is again the 200-day moving average and that year-to-date anchored VWAP, that might just be a good place to punch in. So that's kind of my plan. Those are my two areas that I'm watching UNG today. Now, the next part is completely unrelated, but I did get a question from one of you guys. Said, "Hey, Michael, I watch you on Trader TV. I want to know what you think of Bitcoin." And I've been saying this for a while, that I'm not really interested in Bitcoin right now because it's being very choppy. And the kind of back and forth was talking about how volatile of an asset it is, so it should have a lot of things to do in it. So what I did is I went back. This is as far back as Kraken has data. So the low of this chart is Bitcoin at $100. The high is 100,000, which is just wild. But what I've done with these numbers underneath is I've just kind of showed the area, the long periods of time that Bitcoin did nothing. So I just took areas of the chart where complete chop was happening, and you can see, right, the first one was 1 year, 3 months. Next year was 2 years, 9 months, and then it was 2 years, 3 weeks. So Bitcoin, although volatile, has very long periods of time where it's choppy. And what I've noticed speaking to crypto traders is this is where they lose money. It's not buying Bitcoin and having it sell off 50% because the trader will just get out of the position as the position falls. But it's trying to anticipate breaks. It's trying to chop back and forth. And this is why I wait for the break and I hop into the momentum of Bitcoin. The last chart I have is just kind of showing a daily chart showing that's exactly what we're doing. Ever since we got to this $100,000 area like a month ago, it's been above, it's been below, there's been little flash crashes and crazy rallies. This is the kind of market I just want to stay out of. I think if Bitcoin's going to break and it's going to go, you're going to be able to get a chance to get on that momentum, and that momentum is going to be obvious, right? A big, giant bar that breaks us out of this range, you're probably going to get continuation from there. So that's the kind of thing I'm waiting for in Bitcoin. I've learned my lesson, right? I'm speaking from experience, getting chopped up in this range. So that's what I think of Bitcoin. If we break strongly one way or another, I'm going to look to take a trade. If we just continue in this range, I'm going to do my best to kind of keep my hands off.
All right, I got a couple of questions for you, Michael. So I was involved in UNG last year, and there were certain days that, it would break that 200 exponential or simple on the daily, and then it would revert backwards. Is there a methodology that you would employ, like a 3-period closing rule or something like that to kind of confirm the breakout for UNG?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's just time. It's time. Two things when you're talking about confirming a breakout. One is time, and the problem with that is you have to be okay with if it doesn't break and chop around, it just goes. You have to go, okay, well, I'll miss it. That's one thing. The other thing is, do you get some sort of back test? In a perfect world, this kind of $16 area that I'm looking at, an absolute perfect world, is we break it, we come back, we test it. There's a clear sign of support in that zone. You can load up there and go. That would be, if I was in control of the market, that's what I'd like to see. But those two things you have to do, sadly, especially with UNG, it's never that easy.
All right, with respect to Bitcoin, because I completely agree with you that there is that sideways kind of consolidative area where it kind of creates a range. Do you think that, allowing the range to establish, or at least trying to gauge what the range is, and then perhaps building your position incrementally throughout the consolidation area, or are you looking exclusively for that breakout trade?
I think there's two different answers for two different traders there. Okay. If you're just a Bitcoin maxi, you're a Michael Saylor, you just, you try to look at the low end of the range, it gets to the low end of the range, you buy it. You understand that Bitcoin often has these 50% corrections. Yep. If you're a trader, I think you have to wait for that confirmation. Again, I'm speaking from example here. Well, you guys probably saw, if you follow this show, there's a few times during that last consolidation where I was like, it looks like it's going to go this time. And then I have to come on next time and go, it didn't go this time. So that little chop can actually hurt you way more than you think and can give back a lot of profit. So for me, if you're long-term, just Bitcoin maxi and you just want a dollar cost average in, that's fine. For me, I want to wait for the break. I have some Bitcoin just to have kind of forever. But for that trade, I want to get that momentum and I want to get out. And that's what I did the last time Bitcoin broke when it was around 70,000. I hopped in, it got very close to that 100,000, and then I hopped out of that position, and now I'm just waiting. The other thing to keep in mind, and the thing that I'm going to be watching, I hear a lot from my crypto friends that they think altcoin season is happening yet next. So not meme coins, not these crazy Pepe and all this, but actually altcoins like Mana, Ripple, all these things are going to be the ones to keep an eye on. So I'll keep an eye on them as well. And if I see anything, I'll come back to you guys.
Noted crypto bull, of course, Peter Schiff was, really pounding the desk about the USA coin, which he was positing as an alternative, Michael, for Bitcoin. And then someone obviously went and made USA as a meme coin. So USA coin. So that's taken now. So we can't.
Absolutely. Why not?
All right, Michael. Are you going to be back after the bell with Neil?
Absolutely.
We'll see you then.
All right, I'll talk to you then.
Okay. Thank you. Always good to have Michael on there, and XRP's looked pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Lately,
I literally just pulled it up because I was like, because I haven't looked at XRP chart.
Oh, you didn't? It looks good.
In the longest time.
It looks good.
Very much like Michael just said, he has some Bitcoin in the halve. Never really look at it forever. That's my position on Ripple as well. I'm like, all right, well, it did a test of 290.
Yeah.
Recently, I was like, all right, cool, we're back. Maybe we'll see how long that lasts.
Bears versus Bulls in our chat. He just read your shirt for the first time.
Oh, nice.
See, the cursive is probably difficult to pick up.
Can you guys read this?
If it's on a mobile, it's probably really hard.
Maybe, yeah, you're right.
Nice until proven naughty.
Let's try to follow our rules today.
Well, we always want to follow our rules, and
I don't want to be too naughty with the rules, but
Just talking about crypto, it was there was one chart. It's actually Coinbase that I wanted to point out, just because I think it was a level. I don't want to say it's emerging because I feel like it's already happened now. We'll see on Coin, and it was on Friday. You will see, and it's this 280 area. You saw on Thursday kind of where things settled down and was able to hold. But then on Friday, just a lot of selling. And you can see somebody was holding it. Even though things were bullish, selling into that 280, and now you're gapping a little bit lower. And what's interesting about that is this has actual room to go. Like that 280 is a pretty big prior resistance into support. And now you're trying to consolidate back under it. When that happens, my first thought is, okay, move into the 50 period, into this support, and then you could still trend out even further. All of that's going to probably need Bitcoin to go sideways or hold underneath 100,000, but it's doing so. We're under 95,000. So I think Coinbase, in front of that 280, 282 is the local high. That looks like a good short. You're now $10 away from it is a little bit of the problem. But as I look for things that I would favor the short in, this one certainly pops up after seeing that seller do the work on Friday.
Yeah, I'm kind of just looking at some of these crypto names as well. You pointed out that Coinbase earlier, and yeah, it's kind of already starting that a little bit of a descent here in the pre-market, recovering or reverting some of prior day's action here. We saw that low day in and around 260s, all the way highs at 280s that it got to. A bit of a pullback. Interestingly enough, this consolidation, Neil, happens to be over 5 hours long on Friday, just holding above this 275 level. And in the pre-market, interestingly enough, we attempt to hold, and now we're trading below. But yeah, Bitcoin as well. A little bit of a pull to the downside. 95,000 just cracked as we were talking. Earlier, I was like, oh, we're trading at 95,000. And some change. So we kind of been sideways there for the past couple of days, in and around some of these levels. Couldn't really get all the way through that 100th thou there on Saturday morning. We fell below it Thursday, but yeah, let's see if we continue to make some lower highs relative to that 100K mark. So this is what the some of the levels that I was watching on Bitcoin, and yeah, a little bit of a chop, just like Michael definitely pointed out, but. Something interesting that I did like was this bit of a trend that we got that did push us all the way into the 100. trading a little bit below that, but sideways action here nonetheless underneath that 100,000. So no idea what this thing is poised to do, but definitely going to have some eyes on some crypto names. But not necessarily priority today, Neil. Like I said earlier, I'm just going to wait for things to fall into my lap. And right now, kind of have eyes on RGTI and CCL. You point out CCL with for day 2 earnings. They report on Friday, and some fresh news as well with a Honda Motor Company, Rumble, and what was that other one? Honda Motor Company, Rumble, and
it was Relly.
Relly.
Relly was the one without the catalyst.
Arm might have been Arm.
Arm and Qualcomm.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if there's more catalyst with some upgrades and downgrades.
Definitely a lighter day here for the upgrades and the downgrades, just due to the fact that it is a holiday shortened week. But we'll give you these upgrades and downgrades here, starting with Grosvenor getting an upgrade here by Piper Sandler. Potlack Delta was an upgrade from Raymond James. Raymond James also upgrading Weyerhaeuser, which is up about 1.5% this morning. And NCR Atleos getting an upgrade as well here by Compass Point. Applied Therapeutics, a name you might recognize because it is sometimes a small cap gapper, currently getting a downgrade here and down about 4.33% with this negative note from William Blair, so APLT to the downside. Then we have Innovative Industrial Properties with a BTIG research downgrade. And last but not least, Mesoblast getting downgraded, but looks like it's trading higher here today, despite this negative note from Jefferies Financial. Guys, back to you.
Okay. I can't tell a lie. I don't know any of those companies. No. Now, I vaguely remember APLT because I know this has been a small cap that's traded before. However, I'm going to say this. Now, obviously, analysts have to do their job. But seriously, on the week of Christmas, you're going to bother to downgrade APLT, which just a few weeks ago went from $10 to $1 and is now 85 cents. I mean, come on, man. What's the point? Just slide that one away. Like, I think we get it. I don't think anyone's incredibly bullish on APLT, Applied Therapeutics, right now. No need to kick somebody when they're down. It just seems awfully cold. I mean, there's a reason why you didn't see any major upgrades and downgrades on any of the bigger names, because the analysts are taking some time off to be with the family and drink some eggnog and all that good stuff. And then somebody has to go ahead and kick these guys while they're down. So I don't think there's going to be a trade there. Obviously, we can keep our eyes on some of the things that I think are going to move. Like, let's be real. Like, if you're looking for a catalyst today, Rigetti's got a ton of volume, and we've already talked about this. ARM, Qualcomm, as we were just mentioning. Even something without a catalyst like RELE, although, you know what? The more this holds down here, now you got another lower high, be cautious with this one after I was showing you guys that daily chart. This is one you got to be careful with. I paid for locates in case it fails that 5 again. But I don't know if you'd heard of any of those, Obi, but certainly they were new to me.
No, yeah, I've honestly never heard of any of those, but I did look up. One of them was interesting to me. I might be a little bit biased, and I was like, oh, Mesoblast. I've heard that word before. So let's see what that's up to. Obviously, I'm just like, all right, well, that's definitely some sort of biotech with the name that they had. But recent catalyst with an FDA approval for graft versus host disease. Here we can see that they did some relative volume on I guess Wednesday evening. Thursday was the main day there with a decent amount of volume, but didn't really follow through. Maybe a little bit blasted to the downside here. 14 hold as of right now. So day 2 today would be day 3 on this ticker, but it seems like they did have some interesting volume here. But yeah, let's see, with a little bit of a downgrade, we have been ticking up on this name since what is this, April earlier this year. So decent trend, and yeah, some fresh news with the FDA approval of graft versus host disease. Maybe a little bit of a backside move, but again, I'll keep an eye on this one. Again, just off of the name, I liked it, but then pulling up the chart, definitely did some relative volume. Day 3 of the move today. What's up, Brankles?
Brankles isn't happy because his desk is a little bit of a mess. I thought we cleaned up pretty well after poker night, but he's complaining anyways because
there's a WD. Oh.
I don't know what he's complaining about.
WD-40 and a hand sanitizer. I don't know what was happening poker night, but
yeah, I don't know. That doesn't even make any sense. I'll tell you. The good news, Obi, is the Nasdaq went back green, and we're gonna get into the watch list here. But Sorry, I just saw this name pop up thinking it was a breakout, but it's not moving, this PBYI light volume. No, the NASDAQ just held and has gone back into the green. The ES is still slightly red, but a little bit of a bounce after that drawback that we had early after 8:30. So it looks like we are at least on the mend for the time being in the markets, Sharif.
Yeah, Neil, we're going to look at the futures contract right here. So now we're charting, guys, on the new contract, the ES March 21st, 2025 contract. Let's have a look because we closed above 6,000 on Friday. We're below it right now, trading at 5992 with the overnight low at 83s, the overnight high at 33. So let's see if we can take 6,000 to start. If we take 6,000, we're looking at that overnight high as resistance, 6,033. If we continue to head down from here, we're going to look to that 75-point area, 59.75, guys, as support. All right, guys, make sure to get the watch list every day. Adara prepares it, and we all use it. And we all know a proper morning routine is not complete without a sound watch list. Helps you organize your day, lets you know what's moving, and helps you focus. So keep your eye out on that. It comes right into your inbox every day, and there is the link right there. Link in the description of this video. Let's start first here with Qualcomm and ARM. This was a really interesting case. Looks like it concluded there on Friday. ARM down 2 3/4. Qualcomm the opposite, up 2 1/3. Here's the deal. So Qualcomm acquired a company called Nuvia. And this Nuvia company, they had a deal already with ARM. They were paying ARM a licensing fee that was higher than what Qualcomm was paying them. So when Qualcomm acquired Nuvia, they wanted to pay their current rate to ARM. They didn't want to pay the higher rate that Nuvia was paying. That is the focus, or one of the focus, of this lawsuit, Adara, which resolved on Friday, much to the chagrin, of course, of ARM.
Yeah, so basically what's interesting too is they did declare a mistrial. Sorry about that there. They did declare a mistrial here on some of the claims, basically saying the jury could not decide whether or not Nuvia violated its own license agreement, but declared that Qualcomm is allowed to continue selling its chips there regardless with ARM. Although it's interesting enough, the judge actually did say that ARM and Qualcomm should basically come to an agreement before there's another trial, because it's unlikely that either company has a clear shot at victory should they do a retrial. So that's an interesting note. We might not even get a second trial here, so keep an eye on ARM and Qualcomm should they end up coming to some kind of agreement. But as of right now, Qualcomm in the clear, it looks like, to continue using those chips. And they're basically gloating here to the press, saying the jury has, quote, vindicated their right to innovate. So really interesting stuff here.
And we understand that ARM is used, or a lot of microchip companies are using ARM's technology to build their own custom chips. So this is raising questions about the boundaries of ARM's intellectual property, especially with respect to custom design chips like Apple. Apple bases a lot of their M1, M2, and so on ARM's infrastructure. And this is kind of making a bit of a gray area here about who actually holds the proprietary rights, guys. So we'll have to see how this all pans out. But good look for Qualcomm to start.
Yeah, good look for Qualcomm. Not as much for ARM. But before we jump into that, we good? You know what? I'm actually bearish on ARM. And I was looking for, as the market was going down, I was looking for short ideas. And we talked about a little bit about that Coinbase one. But ARM was one anyways. And I think when you look at what's going on with the stock, before this even happened, you just last week, you lost a 200-period moving average. So you just got underneath there, which I think is always a big metric. Look at it, hold the 200-period on this daily going into that little bit of a test above 150. It failed 150, back under the 200-period. Now somebody, the thing about the market is you trade long enough, we were discussing this before, whether it's a price action in the open market or price action in the options market, somebody usually knows something, and you can see at the close, excuse me, it was a big sell into the close from 132. Somebody knew it was going to go down. So I like to short into 132 today on any kind of a pop. That's where it was when it dumped. The news came out. It's lost the 200-period moving average, which makes me bearish on the stock, at least in the short run. So I'm shorting pops on ARM until proven otherwise, and 132 is my level.
Yeah, no, ARM, I'm watching that ARM as well. We saw that crazy kind of sell-off in into the close or right after the close on Friday there. And thank you for Neil for pointing this out because I definitely missed it there. Reverted about 50% of the move, now consolidating just underneath that 130 mark. So I'm gonna have an eye on this for sure. And Qualcomm as well. Let's see what Qualcomm will be up to today. We got that strong spike and kind of a not really distinctly different, but a bit of an inverse move here relative to ARM, where it does the spike, pulls back in, now consolidating above this what is this 156 level here, 155s maybe, and some change. But yeah, let's see what happens on Qualcomm and ARM coming in to the week today. I'm not really expecting too much, but the thing is they are both doing some relative volume here in the pre-market, so that's something to consider. I don't know if I want to put up an anchored on this catalyst, but you know what, just because I do want to keep an eye out for whatever price that may come in at. I'm going to throw one up right there just to see, and that's at 157.24. We're trading at 156s on Qualcomm, and then going back to ARM, we can do relatively the same thing here with that anchored and see that, okay, a bit of a wash in the pre-market, but ARM is definitely doing a little bit more relative volume on the day. Now going back, looking at some higher time frame on ARM, we'll go back to, let's say, an hour, well, 3 hour as well. Oh boy. All right. So yeah, you can see all these lines from when I started, where I was trading a little bit more off of the IPO and then off of that initial earnings. This continuation was quite nice. This run up was nice as well. But it seems like ARM, Neil, is in a bigger picture sideways consolidation all the way from what is this? Just shy of 100, maybe 90, all the way to 160. So that's definitely interesting. A higher time frame range, and it seems like for the past few days we've been selling off, and then with that catalyst, maybe a little bit more of a sell-off here on the news. So yeah, ARM definitely on watch, doing some decent relative volume. I have about 3.4 times relative volume currently in the pre-market. So let's see what ARM gives us off of the open.
Rumble up over 43% here to start the day. They're trading high after the company announced that it entered into a definitive agreement for a strategic investment of about $750 million from Tether. Tether, obviously one of the stable coins at USDC the other day.
Yes, this is really interesting here too. This is actually basically what's happening here. They're going to be purchasing 103.33 million shares of Rumble, valued at $7.50 per share. As Sharif alluded to, that comes to almost $1 billion, $775 million, and just under a third of that, so $250 million, will be used by Rumble to support its growth initiatives. The remaining will be used with regards to a self-tender offer of up to 70 million shares, but the board and the CEO will remain intact after this. So it's basically purely a strategic deal. It has nothing to do with the actual makeup or shifting of the company.
What's the look, guys?
Rumble is Rumble's not doing the volume that I would have expected when I sat down this morning. And I thought there was going to be, like, with a gap up like this, I thought you'd at least see a little bit more price action, whether it filled in the gap or not. And it's been slightly heading down. Like, you've got Rigetti going crazy. You've got the quantum stocks like QUBT, QBTS that look like they're going to very much be in play. You've got like Relly in there. And then it's like watching paint dry. Like outside of, and it'll say it's done over 1 million shares, but almost all of it was in a dark pool overnight dump at 8 o'clock. Like most of this is completely nonsensical, and it's just not a lot of volume. That said, it already bounced once off $10. I guess you could look there if this is the name that you want. It does set up looking like a bit of a gap and go type of trade, but like I said, without volume, the way I would sort of play this is, you zoom out. If the lack of volume has it pull back, then look at this level at $9, right? Like it's sort of an obvious place that if there's not enough interest to keep this thing going, that a $9 level looks very good for some kind of a dip. And I guess if it gets excited, then above 11.25 is where I think there would be some action. Inside of this range, hands are off for me, because why would you, like, if you're looking for something in that price range to trade today that's a gap and go, regardless of the direction you're looking, explain to me why you'd be looking at Rumble over Rigetti based on the price action and volume in the pre-market. One has done 30 million shares of legit volume. The other one has done thousands of shares and then some dark pool dumping, and then that's about it. So I'm not really that interested in the Rumble trade unless it were to pull back and maybe give you a chance at that $9.
I think that something interesting here, Neil, on Rumble. Again, off of the catalyst, we surprisingly we're holding anchored VWAP surprisingly well since the catalyst there. Again, Friday night coming out, very aggressive bid all the way from 7s to 10, almost 11s right there. Nice little hold on 11s coming in this morning. Can't really get past that 11, but pulls back into anchored VWAP and then holds. And then once again, we're getting another touch on top of this anchored VWAP. So anchored VWAP sitting at 10.05 as of right now. So again, yeah, let's see if we can pull back into some of these prior levels. I like that 9.25 as well. That's the first initial pullback low off of the catalyst, and then you have $10 on off of the anchored VWAP as well. Highs at 11.16s. Let's see if we can get that continuation off of the open there. We've already kind of again. I like that. I like when it shows you that it's holding an indicator, so then you can kind of poise some of your decisions off of that, Neil.
Yes, sir. But everybody, this Christmas, give yourself the gift of smarter trading with Trade Ideas. Don't miss out on 25% off all subscriptions, including upgrades to premium. Unlock powerful trading tools and insights to take your strategies to the next level. But hurry, this special offer ends December 26th. Use code TraderTV25 at checkout to save big. Visit TradeIdeas.com today and make this holiday season your most profitable yet. Whether you are trading Rumble, whether you are trading Rigetti, or whether you're trading some crypto names, which we'll talk about next.
At 95,300 right now is Bitcoin, down about 0.1 depending on really when you started. We'll have to keep an eye out on that. CleanSpark in focus. They're still down on the morning, but there's this positive headline here. They're expanding their data centers, surpassing their 2024 Bitcoin mining target with 37.5 ETHS hash rate. They're aiming for 50 by early 2025, so keep your eye here on CleanSpark. But MSTR also in focus, Adara.
MSTR is also in focus. I know last Monday we had this discussion, Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy, buying more Bitcoin. At that point, they had reached 439,000. Now, as of this most recent purchase of 5,262 Bitcoin, we have now reached 444,262 Bitcoin with a yield of 73.7% year to date, 47.4% quarter to date. MSTR is also with Palantir and Axon, some of the newest entrants into the NASDAQ 100. So big day for MicroStrategy.
And I was actually reading an interesting article on the weekend about the United Arab Emirates holding about $40 billion worth of Bitcoin in their sovereign trust. So we've been talking about these sovereign funds holding Bitcoin, with the states possibly creating a reserve fund, guys. Looks like UAE started first.
Yeah, well, I think obviously the big one's going to be when the US, if the U.S. does it. That said, a lot of times I'm thinking sell the news when something is added to the index. We saw it with Uber. We'll see with Palantir, which is making another fresh high. MSTR is in that ilk. And you can sort of see here underneath 370, closer to 368, it's already a double top. This makes it a pretty easy over-under level. If we're not breaking out above, Bitcoin's not doing a lot. I got to think that to sell the news is there unless you're breaking out the high. You want it to take out that 70 and then it can go squeezing. So it's in the range. It's in the right range. That said, I can't say that and then not be preferring. It's not a crypto name, but Palantir is another one worth watching that was added, the S&P 500, or sorry, the NASDAQ 100. You got a great run pretty much all day long, culminating in a big close. And now you got this big all-time high double top, which it already tested this morning and has been unable to break. I think if it gets through 83, you're looking long. Into 82.5, that's the prior high. I still think it can be a pop and fade. Like a sell the news to me on Palantir's addition to the NASDAQ 100 could take you back into this 78 level, which looks 77.50 to 78. That looks like the spot for me. So the crypto names, unless Bitcoin does something crazy, not going to be on my watch. I think MSTR would be the one if it could break 370. But if I'm thinking there's a big level on one NASDAQ 100 edition that it has to break out from, well, Palantir's got a bigger one here, and I'd rather trade off of this. So if we can't break this top, I'd look pop and fade. If we break 83, that's an easy long. If it takes the 83 long, all-time high is well gone at that point. And as you can see, 77.5 to 78, that's my dip zone. This prior high, afternoon support. I want to trade this one at the right levels. I'm expecting good volume on Palantir. Just prefer it to crypto today. Sometimes those day after trades are pretty good for additions and deletions from an index. Things like Palantir, things like MSTR, whether you want to look at Moderna, those can be in play today for you as well.
Yeah, I think if I'm watching crypto on the day today, definitely going to have eyes on IBIT again, just to see if Bitcoin does any sort of significant pullback right here. But you can see kind of on IBIT, we've been holding some of these lows above 50, 52s, 53s. But yeah, a bit of a downtrend over the past few days is what I'm seeing. Friday, we did catch a bit of a bid, but you can see majority of last week, other than Monday and Friday, so we had a bid at the beginning of the week, selling off, and then bid coming in at the end of the week as well. So I'm just going to see if we break anywhere below prior week's low here, which was marked off with, okay, I got to do my alert on my other one here, but yeah, 52.26. If we break through that 52.26 at any point today, I definitely want to kind of take a look at IBIT on the day today. But we kind of covered some Bitcoin earlier, talk about it kind of consolidating, chopping underneath that 100,000 mark, trading right now at 95, so we're back above 95, 250s, 300s right now on Bitcoin. So some other names that might be interesting, of course, will be Coinbase, Mara, Raya, MSTR. Neil was talking about as well, could be interesting. But I'm gonna keep my focus on. There's also Ethereum ETFs as well.
Yep.
So similar kind of moves there. But interestingly enough, take a look at the relative volume that comes in the pre-market on Friday. That definitely stands out to me a little bit there. That's when we did make that low, that weekly low at 52.26, and consolidated for a decent amount of time, right? Going into the end of the day, middle to the end of the day, you can see this price action on Friday was relatively stable here for over 5 hours. So for 5 hours going into the close, we pretty much traded sideways in a tight consolidation range. And then, I guess those levels as well might be on watch, 55 halves, just above that, and 52s, 52 quarters. But definitely other names in play here. I'm watching this Rigetti, man. It's kind of going a little crazy. So let's see what happens off the open.
That one's going to be wild. What might also be wild, well, I don't know how wild it'll be, but certainly gapping up and trading pretty decently is that Novo.
Ooh, day two.
Yeah, they're both gapping up, Neil. Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk here. The FDA did approve Eli Lilly's drug Zepbound for treating moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea in adults with obesity. It should be noted that Zepbound is the first prescription drug approved for this condition. And in case you're just wondering which one to invest in here, whether Eli Lilly or Novo Nordisk, give you an idea with respect to forward PE. Eli Lilly trading at 34 1/3 forward PE. And Novo Nordisk 21.5. Dara, what's the details on this?
Novo Nordisk currently up here about 5%. In case you remember, they had a pretty rough drop here, closing just under 18% to the downside on Friday after their CagriSema drug showed a little bit less weight loss than expected in an early trial. We did have BMO Capital Markets lowering its price target on the stock to 105 after this, but another analyst here, Intron Health, actually saying that the forward positive results here of CagriSema, the potential is strong enough that it could warrant some positive analyst attention and some investment. So mixed notes here for NVO. Either way, about 5% right now. And if we clear that $90 level, a little bit of pre-market resistance, who knows, guys?
It doesn't have a ton of volume going for it. Now remember, it's dual listed, but it's trying to fill in a bit of a gap. So it's worth watching because the gap is about $15 in here from prior low, and this is about 99s in there. So more like $13 gap that it's trying to fill in. You already have the holds, consolidation over is ongoing. So if we can break out the top, it's got a decent gap fill. One thing it's lacking is volume. That's what you need. So it's got a lot of times when you get that big of a move down, there's typically like a consolidation phase. I wouldn't be surprised if it does a consolidative day. As long as it can hold on to this prior close for a day, I think that'll be pretty much good to go. We only have about 5 minutes to go, and I don't really plan on trading Novo today. On the list, Palantir, the chips, AMD, NVIDIA, those are going to be a little bit more front and center on the mind. ARM to the short side, CCL. But yeah, Novo, I like the setup, but it's probably more of let it hold this for a day or two and then see if it can make a continuation of that gap.
Yeah, this is the day two play, right? In my opinion, we can see that the catalyst comes in Friday pre-market right there, strong quadunk through that 100 mark all the way down to a low of 73.73s. Nice. Reclaims above 80, holds 81 off of the open, and you can see it throwing up an anchored right there. We did consolidate above it for a majority of the day after about 12 o'clock. But today, interestingly enough, we've kind of traded a little bit higher, and look at this. Strong flush, reaction kind of bounce, and that bounce happened around 88 halves. We're consolidating above all of this action here from Friday. So yeah, that's definitely interesting to me. Let's see if we can pull back into 84s and hold. That'll be nice. But if we pull back to some of these consolidation highs, 86 halves, I'm definitely going to keep an eye on this one as well. Novo Nordisk, a little bit in play with a relative volume day, strong relative volume nonetheless. On Friday, we have anywhere between 20 to 17, 18 times relative volume throughout the day there. Yeah, let's see if we can continue to hold above some of these consolidation highs for the push, or we pull back in. I have no idea, but I'm going to keep an eye on this one for sure. Definitely one of the names that that may move around a little bit more due to having a recent catalyst there.
On how the possible cancellation of the $7,500 EV tax credit will affect Tesla's sales. By comparison, we looked at the 5,000 euro ecological bonus in France, which was canceled in December 2023, which led to Tesla's year-to-date sales dropping there as well. A 4,500 euro environmental bonus in Germany led to similar reduction in Tesla EV sales as we keep an eye on the incoming Trump administration. Adair, already up 2.25. Any more information on this?
Yeah, Tesla would be pretty strong regardless. We find it kind of moves on its own merits or in its own attention. But it's interesting to note here, we had Troy Teslike, who is an online Tesla researcher really focused on deliveries, saying that this is likely to hurt the company. Previously, Gary Black of the Future Fund has also said beyond deliveries that he actually thinks this EV tax credit will negatively impact the company's EPS, because that was apparently a similar result seen when the company started cutting prices on its vehicles. So we're going to have to see if the EPS cut happens. Either way, both these types of potential outcomes do have some merit and some pretext for why they could happen. So we're going to have to wait and see if Elon Musk's correct and it won't impact, or if these analysts have a little bit more weight behind them.
All right, guys, up 2.25. What's the look? All right.
I mean, if you just did that on Friday, well, I mean, I don't know, like if you did that Friday in the morning, it worked. If you were short, that's where it stopped. Like, it's just, and look, the number speaks for itself. Like, I'm not saying, it's not as a joke or anything, but like, look at what the stock did off 420 before. And it's been downward trending since failing 480, so lower highs the whole way through. So you got to figure, if it continues this trend, then even with the gap up here, you have a decent chance of retesting the 420 level on any weakness. And that's the area that I'd look for the buy. Otherwise, it says 450 again. Yeah, well, let's just break that if it gets there. There's plenty of room to jump into a trade if you can grab it. I see you're already in Rigetti there. That's going to be a super strong name. We didn't mention NVIDIA. Very quickly here for NVIDIA. There's last week's 137 resistance. This one stands a very good chance of breaking out that price. So NVIDIA looking, I mean, it's only up 1 point, but I love the fact that it's made a double bottom, and now you're trying to break out a double top there at the 137. With 1 minute to go, it's a holiday shortened week, but there's plenty of volume and volatility, and most of the volume is in Rigetti. And every time I hear this name, I just think of the Yankees reliever. I don't like the Yankees. And he was actually a quite good one. But less than 1 minute to go here. This is your volume leader, Rigetti, looking at that 137 break. Oh, Palantir just went to the downside, as I believe there might have been an imbalance. Let's just see here. No, QBTS for a 1 million buy is the only imbalance. QBTS, 1 million buy, the only imbalance out there. But Palantir taking a bit of a right-hand turn into the downside. I like this for an 80. If we can break 83, is an even dollar break over the all-time high. But otherwise, any failure on the opening range above that top, I think, can be faded. Let's get it done. Get it off me. Let's go to Adara. We've got the first countdown of our Christmas week here. So let's ring it in 5, 4, 3, 2, and you know what to do.
All right, let's go. Yeah, let's see what happens here. On Rigetti off of the open, I expect it to be kind of pretty volatile off of the open there. It took a little bit of a dabble into the push. We're getting pretty aggressive. Let's see if we can get a halt one way or the other. We're slamming to the downside right here, 11 halves right here. So had a bit of an anchored in and around this area. Let's see if we can sustain these 11 halves there. Yeah, holding 12s now. Let's see. Those all-time highs were 1275, and we pretty much double tapped them in the pre-market session there on Rigetti. So pretty volatile off of the open, kind of jumping up and down about a point on a $12 ticker is pretty nasty. But again, kind of sizing accordingly. Let's see if we can kind of find any strong reasons to get really aggressive with this ticker here on the day today. But yeah, a lot of other tickers in play on watch as well. There goes the market to the upside once again. So let's see what the market brings us today as well. So let's see what you guys are trading. Let us know in the chat as well, and we can take a look at that. Again, I got CCL on watch. I got Nike Day 2 on watch. Rigetti, of course. Palantir, HMC, Honda Motor, still kind of holding up its gains off of that Nissan merger news. That's absolutely crazy, man. Nissan and Honda. That's definitely.
It's a little large.
It's a little.
By the way, NVIDIA broke out that 137. It did have the break. It got up to the quarter mark. Let's see if it can make the run again. I never want to get trapped. The breakout trade, but if it holds a bit above 137, I will jump back into it. We were able to get scalp trade into the first quarter, but that's as far as it went. Now you're seeing that bit of a failure. If we are pulling back, I got to get over to what was a chip short that I like today. There's ARM. Let me just cancel that order. ARM has dropped like a rock, already down $4 off the 130. Doesn't get up to that 132, but if we're headed down, this is the one that I like for that short trade. So it looks like this one is doing pretty much what we wanted, but it did not let us in to the party. Tesla is already trending as well down into the 420s, so we're going to have to wait for it. Patience, patience, patience. And Palantir is once again the champion. So the market is trying to climb higher, but Palantir is headed for a top-end break, looking very, very strong, at least so far. Not sure what's going on with that. We'll look at that Rigetti as well, but there's obviously some big-time runners here. Palantir making a big move, about $5 away from Tesla, where I think the support should be, and I do not want to give up on NVIDIA. As long as it holds a higher low, I don't mind re-entering this one to the long side. The breakout might not have given you what you wanted if you're holding on to it, but as long as you were stopping out break even, I think you're fine. Now it looks like it wants to hold above 137 again. So NVIDIA and the market both looking strong again here.
Yeah, so this Rigetti still kind of still trading around these 1150s, maybe just hovering above that anchored VWAP from earlier. With the market pushing back up, yeah, Palantir, that drive off of the open was pretty strong. But let's see what else is going on with Adara.
What?
Keep an eye here on WIMI. This is WIMI Hologram Cloud. They have a market cap of around $110 million, and it looks like they're also potentially another small cap quantum play. This morning, they announced here they developed a machine-based learning quantum error mitigation technology. Basically, the goal is to enhance quantum circuit accuracy without additional quantum resources. The word quantum being used 3 times in this newsletter. Clearly, WIMI trying to get its foot in the door as a quantum play. So keep an eye on WIMI Hologram Cloud Inc. This is also a small cap runner that has run in the past. Back to you guys.
Reversal on Palantir. Oh, wow. That's it looked like it was about to break that 82 and right back into 80. So this is going to be key for Palantir. If it loses $80, this doesn't look so bullish anymore. Like, to me, that's a fail breakout and then a breakout of the low if it gets underneath. So we just want to keep that in mind. We did get back into NVIDIA when it broke 37 the second time. So it broke the first time. We got some quarters out there. It then failed, got out. Now we're back in. I got 11s long. It just did the same move where it goes into like the 30s and 40s and then not really getting the continuation. But it's strong relative to everything else here. So I want to give it a shot. This time I might give it a bit of a wider berth after the second break. We'll give it into the prior high with the pre-market high gives us underneath that bar, right? So we'll give it to the prior bar low and then see if we can't ride this one to the upside. But that's a heck of a Palantir just lost that 80. So Palantir broke that 80. Nasty. I need to be able to, if we hold underneath 80 on this candle, I got to be looking for the short on PLTR. Not looking very good. And also AMD going, no, we don't hold on NVIDIA. AMD's stronger than NVIDIA. It's one of those days. All right, so NVIDIA does this twice. You get the breakout trade, which pulled all the way back into prior high. I'll probably try it a third time, but it's AMD, which is a heck of a lot stronger at this moment. Maybe I should be on the AMD break instead of the NVIDIA, or both, Obi.
Yeah, no. This again, we talk about the market kind of doing not too much here, but there is a ticker that kind of is pushing to the highs, and that's Rumble, rumbling to the upside right now with a high of we talked about 11.16 was the high from the pre-market session. I got it up right here. We were kind of raging to the upside as of right now. So watching that one as well. Market pretty much within this range. We saw that strong sell coming in the pre-market right there. We've reverted pretty much that whole sell-off. Back to the upside here on the NASDAQ and the ES here. So it seems like some of these tickers might be poised for a little bit of an up move. We see that NVIDIA is pushing a little bit higher here as well. 137.70s is the high. What's up, Adara?
Keep an eye on Intuitive Machines, LUNR. This ticker has rallied in the past. We have a short float of 21.14%. Today, also a positive catalyst for Intuitive Machines, announcing that they've received additional contracts from NASA's Near Space Network for direct-to-Earth services. So NASA contracts on watch here for LUNR with, again, a 21% short float. Back to you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Thank you very much, Adara. So I want to keep eyes on Relly here. Now, we had said this is one that has a little bit of trouble in the past at this $5 level. It's trying to get back up very quickly. This is what the daily chart looks like. Reverse splitter. No catalyst today specifically. There's no news on this stock, but a reverse split, failed at this level, has been selling out underneath 450 for the entirety of its time after the split. If it can get through that price, great. I've paid for locates. Any fail off this price, and I got to be looking for a bit of a fade trade. If it can break out the top, I think it has a really good chance to go. Palantir is now, okay, so it's trying to get back underneath that $80. This feels like it is a sell the news right now event. It's trying to close underneath that low and feeling like it's going to do so on this next 3-minute bar. If it does, it's ideally you'd be looking short or long on this stock, but it's feeling like a short here. It just went red to green. Red to green and then back into the red one more time. And Tesla is absolutely chilling, headed to that 420 level. We said wait for 420. Allow it to get there, and Tesla seems like it badly wants that 420 level. So patience with this dip, and PLTR still holding that 80. I want to get over to that AMD, which to me is much stronger than NVIDIA. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah, I really just missed this by 2 cents? Yeah, I did. Okay, let's just cancel that bid. I just missed by a couple of pennies catching the dip in AMD. It's stronger than NVIDIA right now by a long shot, and it's the one I want to join. 123.50 is this local high. I guess I should look for longs off of that prior high as well. It's crazy because this was the one on the list, and we got to be able to jump on over to it. Looking super strong. Palantir, though, still showing signs of weakness. I don't know if I just heard another run to Adara, but okay, let's go to Adara at the desk.
Lots of movers this morning, despite the holiday shortened week. META is one of them. We had a nice push into just shy of $600 right off the open as of right now. Still about 1.5% near that 594 level. Earlier today, Financial Times did report apparently that the company is planning on rolling out its new Ray-Ban smart glasses, but these ones are going to have built-in displays. This rollout is apparently planned for late 2025. So META digging in here with the Financial Times report about these Ray-Bans glasses. Back to you.
Neil, we were looking at that. Rumble, and yeah, Rumble wiped all the way back down. It pretty much almost clipped 11s, wipes all the way back down to 10s. Right after we kind of mentioned it, that was very aggressive. But yeah, no, I was pointing out AVGO. Shout out to the chat. A few people in the chat kind of pointing out that AVGO is running, and take a look at that. 223s off of 224s off of the open there into the open, trading at 231s now. So aggressive bid coming in on AVGO. Let's take a quick look at what our friend NVIDIA is doing. Oh boy, look at that, and run up on the chips right here as of right now. What else is running? Let me take a look at this basket. I know that you're participating in AMD. AMD is a runner, but guess what kind of popped and sold off, Neil? Oh boy. Intel, look at that wipe on Intel. It did pop up off of the open 19 halves all the way to 1980s, trading back down at 1960s, so about a 20 penny flush there on Intel, and it seems like Rigetti might be a little poised, might be ready for a little push. Let's see.
There's vomit on its chest.
Sorry.
There's vomit on its chest.
Yeah, mom's spaghetti.
Mom's Rigetti.
Mom's Rigetti. Yeah, I like that one. You know what? I don't know. I've been saying Rigetti, not forgetty, because this whole quantum move has been pretty wild here. Got to keep an eye on one of the leaders as well. IONQ, one of the stronger names in that sector as well. That thing kind of sold off of the open there, but Rigetti strong in the pre-market. It has its own kind of catalyst on the day here. Let's see if that VWAP holds. We can continue back up, reclaim. I'm looking for a bounce here on IONQ as well for a little bit of confluence. But CCL, interestingly enough, Neil.
Oh boy.
Nothing too crazy. Straight to the downside, wiping back a decent chunk of that mid to end of day push that we had on Carnival. So the short on Rigetti worked right off of the open, but again, my idea was a little bit different. I wanted to size in relatively small until it shows us some strength here, some level holds, maybe a VWAP reclaim, but I still wanted to participate and get a little bit of a feel before the move kind of comes in here. And yeah, it seems like that 11 hold, that was nice. I kind of hesitated another punch into there, but that's okay. Nothing too crazy just yet. That 1275 is the level that is highs right now. We're trading about a point away from that. Again, a $12 ticker, but giving it a decent wide risk as of right now. Just letting it work. Like I said, it is holiday season. Don't want to be doing anything too crazy. Even if I'm holding for crazy amounts, I don't necessarily want to be putting on too much risk until the trade actually really shows up. What I'm looking for. What's up?
The market is trying to break overnight highs. Yeah. And look, AMD, and I'll get to AMD in a second. It's just broke the high that it continues to go. But you know it's the holiday season when even GameStop is giving you a gift. For reasons unknown, this just broke Friday's high. I really do mean that. There's no story. And I keep saying it over and over again. Maybe today is the day we break out 32.25. So I say this every single time we break 30. Wake me up when we break 32.25. If I lose on a 32.25 break, then so be it. I'm going to have it. It's on the daily chart. Here you can find it, blah, 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 all that good stuff. But as long as we're above 30, then that is on watch for me. But AMD, and shout out to everyone in the chat that was yelling, okay, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like NVIDIA is not going. I grant you, NVIDIA is also going. But AMD just stronger. So we got the dip. It seems like a random level 123.5. It's not. It's the Thursday high and then support from before. Now, I don't think AMD is necessarily going to fill in the entire gap, but stranger things have happened. But what I don't love, though, is you've got some resistance here in the market up at 21.68 on the NASDAQ. So we got the buck on AMD, but it feels like the right thing to do is look for the next available dip. It would have been nice if Palantir could just continue doing that thing that it always does, which is be ridiculously strong. But what happened was a couple of bounces off 80 and tried to break out the pre-market high. Did not. Then failed the pre-market. Then kind of almost triple bottomed here at that 80 level. I got short back underneath it. I'm scalping the first $0.50. And if it breaks that, I'm looking at that 78 as a target overall. So I'm looking for one more fill here in front of the low. If it can break this, Then we're waiting for 79 and then 78 ultimately as a short. Ideally, I'd rather have been long Palantir today, but that's not what's set up. What's set up is this short trade, so that's what we're in. If you're tracking Tesla, it's still headed down to 420, it looks like. The last couple times it was down here, we've seen bounces off the 420 level. I want to give it a chance to do that one more time. So there's still plenty of time for it to work. Rally failed that lower high, try to get short. I'm not short RELI, unfortunately. But it's still bouncing off VWAP. I might actually cancel this order and just be a little bit more patient with RELI. I still think that this is a fade. Someone's been selling that 450 level ever since it did that reverse split. So we'll be patient with it, let it maybe retest that 450 before I get into it. AMD, I got to be thinking reload though.
Yeah, AMD is definitely running like crazy. It's super strong right now. And something that is distinctly different, Neil, is that ARM. So we look at that ARM, that again with that Qualcomm catalyst right there. So a bit of a continuation. We sold off aggressively on the news all the way from 130, 132s down to 124s. Coming in today, we were trading can't really get past that 130, and we're coming right back into those 124s. So that reaction low was 123.37 from Friday, and ARM is headed straight to the downside, expanding volume, selling off aggressively off of that 130 all the way back down to 124s. Oh boy, what a pullback on that one there. But yeah, distinctly different from some of these other chips. Something else that's running, Neil, is TSM as well. Look at this push through that 200 mark on TSM. Aggressive all the way up to 204.27s, now consolidating well above VWAP right here, sitting at 202.19s. Again, volume kind of falling off after when the selling kind of starts to come in. You can see that drastic pullback of that volume here. What is that alert that I just got? Oh, AVGO. Okay, so AVGO, we'll take a quick look at that one there. Broadcom, yeah, okay, so Broadcom pulling back into VWAP as of right now, but that aggressive push right off of the open as well, Neil.
Oh, there's a spike. I mean, the futures aren't doing anything, but there was just a big spike there in AMD. The buyers just came back in full force, another fresh high. So now at this point, it's made a bit of a trend since that crazy parabolic open that it's had. So a couple of decent higher lows. If I was, and I'm not trying to short it today, but like if I was, then I'd be looking for a break of this trend to look for the short trade. The other thing you have to think about is 125. 125 is a big psychological level any way that you want to cut it. It is worth noting here that NVIDIA, which we had a couple of times, good scalp trade, bad scalp trade for a flat day for me on NVIDIA, this is just lost VWAP. This is why I pivoted from NVIDIA to AMD. You can say, hey, this is breaking out too, but it doesn't matter. One of them is stronger than the other, so go trade the one that's stronger. And I don't want to be stubborn about the one that I just happened to get into first. So distinct difference between AMD and NVIDIA, at least for now. Palantir just keeps getting down to 79.5 and lower highs being put in. I want to see if I can get some money fills the next time it pops up. Maybe catch something a little bit above the 80 level the next time. But that still looks like a short to me on Palantir. And Tesla's still trending to the downside. NVIDIA looks interesting, but almost like to the short. And Intel, if something's going to go next, I know you were just mentioning that. Yeah. If you look at this Intel, like, why not?
That was, yeah.
Once, twice. Look at twice now it's faded it. Like, if this breaks out its top, I mean, that looks pretty juicy to me. You want something breaking into new territory. That's a pretty decent gap. 2050. It's only 70 pennies, but I mean, it's a $20 stock. That looks pretty juicy on Intel if it can get through that high. For now, AMD, if there's big size at 125, I'm going to sell into that and then look for the next available dip, as this is your rocket of the day. I'm going to hit a lot of baseball ones because my fantasy football team in the pool I'm in with Sean lost in the playoffs, so I'm not very happy about that. So let's just hope that suddenly we'll sign Vlad Guerrero or something to make me happy. But yeah, my season's over in one of my pools. Kind of sucks. Josh Allen had his worst game of the season, fantasy-wise, when I badly needed him. Is what it is. Well, the Bills won. Fine. Yeah, the Bills won. My fantasy team, what are you going to do? Like, the guy's been a machine all year long, and then when my fantasy team needed him the most, he did just enough to win in real life. That said, I'm a Bills fan first, fantasy second. did I just not get filled down there at 20s? It's because I canceled my order, so let's get another order out there. I want to make sure we can bag the 50 penny win and then look for the dollar in a minute here on Palantir.
Yeah, so let's see what these moves have right after we get back from Midday.
Keep an eye on AMD and all of these semiconductors here. AMD trying to pull a little bit potentially of a bearish engulfing candle clear on the 3-minute chart. Basically, what's happening here is we did have this morning the announcement that the U.S. is starting an investigation into these legacy Chinese chips. Now the Chinese Commerce Industry, the China Commerce Ministry has responded basically to this, saying that they urge the U.S. to, quote, respect facts and multilateral rules and immediately stop their wrong practices. So this came out, I guess, about 8-10 minutes ago now. Not seeing much of a response except for maybe this candle down, but basically China urging the U.S. to stop its wrong practices with regards to its investigation into the Chinese chip industry. A lot of these chip names like AMD and Broadcom have been pretty strong off the open, guys. Back to you.
Yeah, another ticker that is strong off of the open, Neil, is Rumble. Take a look at this one. We talk about that one kind of wiping back down. Look at this shake and bake that happens off of the open. A little bit of a push up into 11, pulls back all the way below 10, and then now going for the run, 1136s. So we have broken past some of these pre-market after-hour highs now. Rumble, it is definitely rumbling to the upside with that aggressive action there. Oh boy, I was looking at it in and around $10 earlier, and I was like, all right, well, if it's going to shake up like that, maybe I don't want to necessarily stay involved. But look at that wipe back up and that aggression back to the upside. That is absolutely crazy here on Rumble. So let's see where's the next trade. That's what I'm looking for here. Kind of missed that one there on the rebreak of some of these levels, but 1123s or 1129s now trading on Rumble with the market pulling back as well. We talk about, oh, okay, well, we wiped it all the way back up for that sell we got in the pre-market. We reverted pretty much 100% of it, but that selling coming right back into the market, pushing us back down to those range lows here on both the NASDAQ and the ES. So have you guys been trading anything market related, or are you guys trading something that's directional? We talked about some of those chips being very directional off of the open. Micron-Arm, definitely a little directional there. We saw some moves happening there on AVGO as well. Bitcoin also taking a little bit of a pullback here. 93.7s. We were trading 95s in the pre-market today.
Look
here,
at Coinbase.
Tesla with a pullback as well. Coinbase, yeah, we talk about looking for the sympathy on that. That thing's straight to the downside alongside crypto, I guess Bitcoin as well. Are you thinking of anything on that coin, or?
I feel like you've already missed the move, and you just have to wait for the next trade on Coinbase. Like that, we were pointing out that 280 resistance. It failed at 275 and just flushed the whole way through. So the next trade could be maybe it pops into VWAP, maybe it pops into the lower high, but what was strong just came back through break even. You're not going to be able to hold on to that 123.5 on AMD. That said, I still think it's up 3.5%. You always have the opportunity to get back into 122 or simply hold this high and then get back into the trade. So don't want to give up on it. As far as I'm concerned, it's one red bar into a parabolic move up, but the market's heading toward those lows. So the pop and the fail trade on Palantir here, like that failed breakout through an all-time high, it's now headed to, it just tagged 79, so we got some out there for the $0.50. Now we're looking for this 78 level. This is the next big key. If it breaks 79, I think we're going to get a move right back into that 78. The short's certainly working on Palantir. It's just as you said, Obi, the other one, like ARM was supposed to be the other one. If anything, it was probably the better short setup. It just never did anything strong into 132 and continuing to bleed here down 7%. You even have a flat bottom break that it's Friday's lows. It's already through. It's November lows. I feel like this is almost a join the short, but I have to find my way into it. We got one, but we wanted a little bit more than that on the short side. Now we're going to get that 79 push here on Palantir. It's actually 79 even is trying to bounce. I've got to get some out here in front of 79 even, and then we hold. Trying to be able to get back in on a pop, but there's only been one green candle since the one off the open here on Palantir. So we'll have to wait for the next available pop, rejoin the short in. So far, so good, but ARM was a huge miss. Definitely should have been into ARM. Oh, and remember Relly? Well, And it was a pretty good fail off that lower high. This one was always, hey, be careful with it. Didn't really trust it when looking at that daily chart. Looks like it wants to trend into the downside. It hasn't lost pre-market support yet. So it's got that going for it here on RELI. Paid for locates on this, although we don't happen to be in it. It just didn't quite give me the push that I would like to see. It couldn't even hold above 425 long enough to get short.
Yeah, so that Rumble is still pushing to the upside, almost $12 now, Neil. So yeah, absolutely crazy action there. Now again,
wow.
we talk about
really?
this. We talked about this anchored VWAP in the pre-market, right? So take a look at where it comes in and holds. So not, I wouldn't say perfectly, but so well. You can see that again anchored to where that volume comes in on Friday. We pull back, hold. In the morning, I was like, all right, well, if we're going to dump into that anchored right off of the open, I don't necessarily want to continue looking at this, but that was definitely a mistake on my part. As look at that, we make a higher low relative to the opening range low, hold that anchored on top of that $10 level and pushing almost all the way back up to past those pre-market highs into 12s. 1182s are the current highs right now on Rumble. Aggressive push. Again, I was watching this action there. I was like, all right, that's definitely a little bit of a shake and bake, pushing to the upside. Let's see how much continuation this thing has with the market catching a little bit of a bounce here. You can see that we're wicking just a little bit there, and yeah, Rumble, there it goes. Rumble pushing for some fresh highs once again. The $12 level coming in here on Rumble. Absolutely wild action here. Who said anything about no opportunities during holiday season there, Neil? There's a bit of a stack there on the offer. Let's take a look at this tape here. Let me put on a filter as well at the same time so we can take a look. Look at that, straight through 12. That size getting taken out almost instantly through the 12s. So yeah. Someone in the chat was saying bye-bye shorts, and bye-bye shorts indeed on Rumble, as some of those short positions might be getting a little shaken up going into the midday session here. I'm still looking for some of that shaking up to happen here on Rigetti, but Rigetti's still holding this VWAP as a, oh boy, look at that! Oh my God, 12 at 15. So this thing, yeah, a little bit of a squeeze action here
ridiculous.
On Rumble. You're watching this thing?
Well, I was about to go over so there's a halt T-Raw. Sometimes I'm in like football brain, Trevor Lawrence, T-Law. TRAW is halted. But Rumble,
got halted.
I mean, it's super strong, but it's not doing anything that would cause it to halt. But look at this. Look at the fail break of the low to trap. I think maybe trapping some shorts underneath the $10 level. Like I think, and as long as shorts are trapped, sometimes you can get a continuation. At first I was like, well, you don't want to diddle in the middle here, but then look how cleanly it broke away from that prior resistance. So when you look up here and it's like 1230, 1230 looks pretty good for a spot. I'll show you how frustrating sometimes getting on the bid and the algos can be with AMD. Yeah, this was trying to get the bid. This actually happened earlier on AMD at 123, so maybe I should have known. Try to grab VWAP. It's now going right back through the highs. This is going to take 125. I'd rather buy a dip off 125, maybe into 24, but we're going to try and get back into this bad boy. Not joining, or not at least looking for a join in Rumble, doesn't make sense. Like the relative volume, finally, it came in at the open. It wasn't doing volume most of the morning. But now the relative volume is looking fantastic. Anything above 11 on a dip, I think looks good. You do have to be careful for halts here based on the volatility it's already put in. So just be wary. I never want to get trapped in any halts. Oh, and the other thing which is bullish, we just talked about earlier, Intel, I tried to pick it up in front of that 19.8. It's on a break. I know it's Intel and it doesn't look sexy, but look at the gap fill that it's got going on it. We liked a few chip names for some strength today because they were breaking out resistance. Intel's continuing to go. Anything above 19.8 looks pretty good. If it fails 20, I think that gives us a chance to dip buy. Palantir's still looking pretty solid. It's right back down into 79, so that short looks fine to me. Whereas the market just tried to catch a bid. Like this one's looking okay. On the 15-minute, it's still failed break and 2 red bars in here. Going to close red again and still on track to get down to the 78 level. I still feel pretty good with that short. It's just a matter of working way back into one of the chip longs and catching a piece of that Rumble pie.
Yeah, no, definitely very, very, very aggressive. Again, I think we can be making a lot of rum jokes today. I like that one. Rumble pie.
Well, we could always make some rum jokes.
For sure.
We have any egg? We get any eggnog? We didn't get any eggnog, did we?
Yeah, not yet. But yeah, this is absolutely crazy action here. People were talking about some of these other tickers as well. Yeah, but no, Intel. You say Intel's not sexy, Neil. Intel is definitely attractive. I think pushing back up into. I mean, yeah. Well, Sharif. When we see a nice candle body, we'll point it out. Yeah, no, Intel again holding another key level. We were looking at some of those 19s last week and some aggressive action. We were continuing to the upside again. Not only just Intel, alongside with Intel is AMD, is Nvidia. Nvidia obviously not as strong. We got TSM as well, but a little safer, maybe more liquid option as well, Neil, is SMH. If you take a look at SMH is doing something relatively similar here as well. Again, being the semiconductor ETF, you can see that a pull up to 247s, pullbacks to 245, and yeah, a little bit of an uptrend relatively here. Wow, there goes Rumble with another push to the upside. This thing is definitely squeezing. I don't really want to chase, but let's see what's happening now.
Much lower than expected consumer confidence number coming through here for the month of December from CB. So coming in at 104.7 versus 113.5 expected. So lower than expected CB consumer confidence print. If you recall, on Friday we got a basically in-line consumer confidence print from the University of Michigan. We also got the new home sales here and new home sales change month over month for November, coming in at 664,000 units compared to 667,000 units expected, so slightly lower than expected. New home sales change month over month, 5.9% versus 9.8% expected. It's also worth noting this new home sales number, not initially on the calendars that I was seeing here. So interesting stuff there. We did, as again, Trey state that, get a lower than expected CB consumer confidence print. The Q is pretty rangy here. Nice base around that 518.2 with a top of 520 halves with slightly lower highs, so keep an eye on the potentially lower highs for the Qs, up 1/3% right now to start this holiday shortened week. We have tons of semiconductors on watch. AMD really strong here off the open. We do have the U.S. investigating China's chips there, specifically legacy chips. Also on watch here, names like MicroStrategy and PLTR. This is their first day trading as part of the NASDAQ 100, and MicroStrategy announced the acquisition of just over 5,000 Bitcoin as of this morning. Then we also had Rumble here on watch. Rumble's been talked about a lot here, but in case you forgot, the Catalyst announcing that it has entered into a definitive agreement for a $775 million strategic investment from Tether. So crypto-related catalyst, always a great look for something like RUM of about 73%. Guys, back to you. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Figure out what the short float on that thing.
Rumble is nuts. Let me double check what that short float is on Rumble. It's at this point, well, it's 21%. That's a healthy short float on Rumble. And there's no doubt that it's a squeeze. So just one quick little thing. We've just broken lower again here on PLTR. I did miss an ad on trend, which would have been like 79.60s. And now it's going to push into the 78. 78 is the target zone. And it's right into here. Afternoon support, 77.5 into 78. So the trail is going to be on, especially when we hit that 78. I think at some point this is likely to catch a bit of a bid, especially if the market doesn't completely fall apart. But yeah, it's working out. And like I said, I've got the trail in on trend now. Rumble's trying to dip here. The last time it dipped, these are bad wicks, it held on to 1190. So it was a good consolidation level. I'd like to see it do it again. If it can do another nice little consolidation and hold 12, then I want to join this trade long and try to just get in with tighter stops. Like if you can get long in here and maybe stop it out under there, I don't want to chase this too far. Feels like if you're, like it's gone, it's up 72%. This is a $10 level. Like I don't want to be in this at 12 thinking you have to hold it down to $10. Like it's reasonable if you got it off 10 and you're long at like 10.50, but you can't use that level when you're long 12. I've got to find my way into a long some other way here. So Palantir continuing to cook. AMD's trying to break out that 125. And Intel. which I mean, I said it wasn't sexy, but I maintain that it's a $20 stock. But look at the trend up. It's just so cleanly holding this trend that so long as this red candle is followed with a close holding 1985, then yeah, I'll take a shot at this to the long side, which is exactly what it looks like it wants to do. So why not? And I just saw Mark in the chat say, look at Nike. What is Nike doing? Ooh, Powerhouse? Oh no. What happened to Nike? All right, so I shouldn't have assumed that it was going to be a good thing. Yeah, Nike, that's a big reversion here on Nike. Careful.
778.
No, it's, you know what's crazy about this, and we said this before, like before earnings came out on Nike, that somebody'd been selling the you-know-what at a $79, going into earnings, clear resistance. Now all of a sudden it tries to get back into that range and the sellers come at 78. I think you just got to treat this as going into 79, the stock is a short because somebody's selling it, and the only time it spent any volume above was in the aftermarket on the earnings, and they just rinsed it. So if it can break 79, I like it for a long, but once again, the sellers take control, and there's not much you can do about it. It is what it is with that stock. It's disappointing, but if you're able to capture that, then you get some pretty good short trades out there on Nike. Tesla making another charge, 420 is incoming. It hit 422. The next break of the low will likely be a test of 420. I shouldn't speak in certainties, but very likely to give that test at 420, which is the only place I'm looking bounce.
Ooh, that should be interesting. Yeah, we saw again. You remember when that 420 level came in the live market? That was absolutely crazy as well. When we first kind of initially tested it, here comes a market to the downside here, going into the beginning of the hour here at 10 o'clock. So 10:05 right now, coming right back into some of these pre-market levels here. Let's see if we can catch a little bit of a bid. We saw the bid come in a couple of times off of this level here already during the day on the NASDAQ. Let's see if we are poised for more of the same as of right now. But yeah, Tesla coming into the downside. Intel still holding up, so maybe we're looking for a bit of a pullback here on some of these chip names. Again, that is the question I'm asking. Where is the next trade? Some of these chips pretty strong off of the open, and still holding near their day highs as of right now. So let's see what else is taking a little bit of a pullback. We talk about Tesla, Google as well. Okay, so Google is printing some fresh lows of days. Softy still within opening range, but 50-minute opening range low. We're trading slightly below that, but well within that first 30-minute range for sure. The Spider, a little bit of a continuation. We saw that aggressive strength for majority of the day on Friday on the Spider. If you looked at the 30-minute trend, it was pretty aggressive and continuous in and around until in and around 12:30, 1 o'clock. That's when we kind of started to break down and sell off a little bit more. We're getting a bit of continuation on that reversion on the Spider. Here comes that 420, Neil.
It's right there.
On Tesla, yeah, it's right there. Are you taking anything there? Or?
Well, I'm not going to catch a falling knife. I'm looking for a fail break of 420 and then maybe a regain of the level. The trail's in on Palantir. Palantir just hit the 78 level, so it broke 78. I've moved my trail down to the 78 and a quarter as we hang on to that. It got about $2 in the money, but that's just a round number. Almost don't care about it. Tesla doesn't want to break it. It just held. It's broken 420 every other time and then come back above, but this time it wants to hold on to it on a dime. I guess I should just sit in front of the falling knife next time. See? Sit in front of the falling knife and it's already bouncing here. But if I do that, then my stop is at 99. I'm going to keep it pretty simple. If the initial play would have been a false break and then back through, then I'm going to go the other way here and just play with the even stop break. And if it breaks it even by a penny, with a tight stop, maybe I'm willing to get in front of the 50s as well. Palantir just trailed out. So we'll take the dub on Palantir. It did come back up. This is dark pool wicks. You know what? Yeah, I think I got triggered out on a bad dark pool print there. Either way, it was down at target. I moved the trail in. It looks like there was just a few bad wicks in there. Obviously, the stock did not just trade back up to 79. That said, it did get to our target. So it was a failed breakout of the high. Another fresh all-time high for PLTR. Then it broke down through 80, and we traded it back into afternoon support from Friday. So pretty simple idea there. And of course, Tesla just did it. So I was in Tesla in front of 420 with a tight stop. Now it's done the hold. Okay, this is Now it's done the hold of 420, so this is the other side of the trade, which is get back long and give it to the prior low. So we made our money short, and now we're, well, not on Tesla, made our money short, and then it actually gave us this, let's try to hold on to the 420 level. The last few times I have not taken this trade, and it has worked. So today we're going to grab it. Just keep in mind, this has a 418 bottom. So yeah, you can have a couple of swigs at it on this way down, but I'm giving it to the prior bar low. So I'm giving it a relatively tight stop, and if it goes all the way down to 418, let that be its own trade. Now, everyone's style is going to be different. I'm not taking a 420 trade like above and trying to hold it down into 418. I will take my shots and then try to regroup if it goes down in here to 418. And the other way to play this, because now that it didn't work, is to look for a mean reversion trade. Like actually reverse the trend here instead of trying to catch the falling knife, but it's underneath that 420, so if Tesla is a fail, it looks like it was a fail, and it's unfortunate. I think I got a bad wick on my trailing stop there. Probably shouldn't have trailed out of Palantir, but we're out, and it went another 50 cents into the downside, so it's kind of a bad luck move there on PLTR, but it is what it is. You got to be able to move on to the next trade, and that could be AMD at VWAP. It could be, I'm looking at Intel here, and Intel's pulling back into VWAP, but the market is breaking these lows, Obi. Yeah, and I should not have, I should still be in that Palantir short, really.
Yeah, so that market, we were talking about it coming into that range. Yeah, that market is coming in real hot right now. So yeah, a lot of these things that were potentially catching even a little bit of a bid off of the open there, taking a bit of a pullback. You can see Nvidia quadunking, pretty much wiping back a decent, well, all of the opening range action and coming into prior day's highs, sitting on top of 135 halves as of right now. So that's where the chips are headed. Intel with a bit of a pullback as well. TSM 50% pullback. Micron making fresh lows as well.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, ARM and some of the names that we were talking about already selling off of the open, not really catching that bid. Maybe potentially coming in for a stronger sell there. We saw ARM getting flushed off of the open. Let's see. Day lows currently at 123.28 on ARM there, and yeah, this market is aggressive to the downside. 21.5. We just broke below that 21.5 level here. Let's see what Rumble is up to. Rumble coming back into its VWAP as well. So Rumble, nice little pullback along with the market. You can see here, anchored is sitting at 1078. Here on Rumble. So interestingly enough, I did look up the short float on Rumble, and it's over 20%, Neil. So that squeeze that we felt, definitely a little action there. 20% short float on Rumble, and yeah, with a bit of a catalyst, we get a euphoric move from $10 all the way to 12.73s currently on that name. I'm still kind of keeping an eye on it. Missed that initial anchored VWAP hold in and around that $10 level for the push through opening range highs through 11s. That was a really nice trade there. Shout out to anybody who had that one. But yeah, let us know in the chat what you guys are trading. I know a lot of people talking about Palantir as well.
Still dumping.
Palantir, what are you up to? Oh my God. Yeah, now you actually have a stronger market tailwind to the downside. Again, this thing's been selling off. This is a 3-minute chart. Look at it. It can't even get back up into VWAP there, and giving up pre-market lows here at that 80-30 level-ish off of the open there. So bit of a wash, but VWAP seems like is the place where participants definitely came into it aggressively, and holding in charge are the shorts, are the sellers, as this ticker continues to the downside here. So let's see. I want to pull it up on a 5-minute and a 15-minute just to take a look. I do like to look at multiple frames here. You can see how clean the selling is on the 15-minute. Volume hasn't really died off, pretty much stable. Yeah, the opening print has some decent volume, but look at that. It's pretty stable since then, doing about 1.2 relative volume as of right now on Palantir. So maybe, do we get a reversion? I don't know. It's not really setting up in my playbook just yet for that, but let's see if we get some more of an extension here. But it is pretty extended off of the open there, coming down about 4% there from, what is this, an open of 80 halves all the way down to 77.40. So let's see if that can catch a bit of a bounce, but the market is bouncing off of that 21.5, Neil. So yeah, a bit of a choppy market today with some aggressive selling both in the pre-market bit of a bid that came in, but that selling comes right back in, going almost into the second hour of the day.
And I want to address, because I see a few people in the chat pointing this out, and we'll be seeing the same thing as you when it comes to all these wicks. And I've seen a few people say this, like Dave in the chat, crazy wicks over and over on the same levels. Can you explain the huge weird candles on Tesla? So I'm seeing this across the board, and unfortunately, like if you have a system which is plotting pretty much all prints on the tape that are off the legitimate, off the normal gateways, then you're going to see this. So there's a lot of, looks like late reporting dark pool prints, meaning it's traded at a price previously, and these are all causing wicks down on Rumble. You can see it here at 1087 over and over again. The actual local bottom I can confirm is 1150. Here, I'm actually back in this. Well, not back in. I'm in it off of this and giving it to 1150. Let me just get some out at 1-to-1. And it's the same thing, regardless of the stock you're looking at. It's the same phenomenon. Like Tesla, I was watching the level 2 of Tesla. Tesla did not trade down to 415 bucks. It was not trading up to $425 either. So you're just getting some late reporting dark pool prints, and they are going to mess your chart up. The best thing you can do is some platforms allow you to block them. I don't like that because then you're missing a bunch of prints. But if you're watching a level 2, you get a good sense of what the price is anyway. So Tesla actually held on to 418 at that bottom. In the moment, it kind of shook me off of that trade, seeing that wick, but it is now holding well above the 420. As I said, I'm now into Rumble for the first time. Might have just missed that bottom on Tesla. Rumble, let's see. I mean, it did a dip. It held on well above VWAP. Holds on to $11.50, now headed to $12.50. I don't really, look, it's a squeeze at this point, right? So I tend to think of things like, okay, you get back above 1240, which should be an out in front of that 30 level. Where's I shouldn't be offering 40s. When looking at that daily chart, I should be covering some in the 30s there. And if it can break away from that, you're looking at 13 and then 1380. So those are the levels to watch for me on Rumble. And if we can hold through a break of the high, then I'll look to add somewhere on trend or just hold it into that 14 dream. At this point, can't turn into a losing trade. Sometimes you've got to join the one that's strong, and that's the way to get into it. And hopefully this can be a little bit of a touchdown here for Rumble.
Nice. Yeah, nice trade there on the pullback, Neil. Definitely caught that piece all the way back up, 1230s right now. So yeah, I'm just observing this one. I'm watching Rigetti as well. Again, talking about Rigetti, the quantum names have been pretty interesting, and haven't really been participating with them. I haven't really been participating with them as much as I really should be, and finding that out on Friday. I was talking to a bunch of traders, and they were like, yeah, we're trading, QUBT and some of these IONQ, some of these quantum names as well. On the who knows? Is this the front side of the move? Is it the back side of the move there? But relatively fresh as some of these catalysts coming out as of recent over the past few weeks there. So this could just be the beginning on some of these names here going into the new year. Now, quantum technologies as well, definitely interesting stuff. We hear about, you like science fiction?
A little bit.
Remember when quantum computing was a thing of science fiction?
It's still, well, I mean, it's...
Well, we're getting there. We're taking steps.
You know how far away you could be years and years and years away from like major breakthroughs in quantum computing. But you are starting to get there, right? Like the breakthrough for Alphabet was pretty impressive. Yeah. But that's
how it happened.
You know, like you're not cracking cracking
crypto.
You're not cracking crypto, and it's going to take a long time. As a matter of fact, they threw a lot of cold water on that notion. That said, I want to mention there actually are moves happening in some of these, like QUBT here. Yeah, you're not cracking crypto. QUBT it's downward trending, but it has a chance to break that trend, and it gets a little bit interesting here when you pull out the chart. This looks weak, but then it bounced right off prior close, so find support at the prior close, and then you could be breaking trend up. Like that would be a nice break of the trend, and then maybe a retest of that $20 level. So you gotta have eyeballs on that. Right now, Rumble looking pretty good. I don't like what I'm seeing in some of these chips, however. You know, like this is what NVIDIA looks like, lower highs, and now underneath VWAP. Intel, I still think has a chance, and it just it's strong. It's a little stronger. It's bouncing off VWAP here, which I like. So this one's bouncing off VWAP and going back into the high. So I feel like there could be some strength worth exploiting here on Intel, and just a little bit distinctly different. Like this and AMD look good, and NVIDIA doesn't look that strong at all. So I feel like buying the dip on Intel is going to make some sense off of VWAP, and then leave the weak stocks to their own devices. So Rumble's looking okay, but I'd rather be looking over at something like an INTC or an AMD to get back into it. And just to go back over to it still hasn't broken out that high. Whoops. You're still chilling out. Nice strong trend back up, but if it loses 11.5 bucks, I'm not holding it to VWAP. As I said before, none of these wicks down here at 11 are real. The actual hold was at about $11.50, so that's what I want to give this to and hold through the high of the day. Bearded Warrior Trade says Google looks very weak. No, does it really? Oh yeah, it does. Yuck. Yuck. That looks terrible for Alphabet. I always want to zoom out when I haven't taken a very close look at the stock on the day, and it does not look good. See that topping tail candle at the 52-week high, and then topping tail candle today at the lower high, and all of a sudden breaking down underneath Friday support? Yeah, that doesn't look good at all. I think consolidation underneath the prior close for a continuation trade. That doesn't look very good at all there for Google. You got to find the strong stocks, right? Like you've got AMD and Intel looking good. You've got Rumble looking good. Everything else is looking pretty weak.
Yeah. So.
Also pretty weak here is the IWM, though it has been struggling especially hard since the FOMC drop on Wednesday. It had a little bit of a recovery here on Friday, but now we're below 220 on IWM, down about 1% right now in the day for that Russell 2000. First small cap here, and to be clear, all of these are very volatile, so definitely proceed with caution. DRCT, no catalyst here for Direct Digital, up about 98%, lots of halts, lots of volatility. We're talking up 100%, down, up 100%, then up 50%. So lots of bounces around here for DRCT with a market cap around $4.5 million, float of around 3 million shares. Next up here, we have RAPT. This one does have the catalyst still up about 100%, though pretty removed from its highs. RAP Therapeutics set to raise $150 million in a private placement to advance its drug pipeline. Also announced a collaboration here with a Chinese pharmaceutical company. And last but not least, LAES. This company has been announcing one catalyst or another over the last week. SealsQ, this is now a quantum-related catalyst, basically saying they have a quantum-resistant technology to tackle any potential resistance that Bitcoin might have with regards to quantum. So BTC and quantum relationship being explored by LAES, which does have a 10.5% short float, guys. To you.
Yeah, so a lot of interest again coming into the quantum space, and it seems like some of these tickers are adapting. It's a classic. You throw a quantum in your name or a quantum in some of your reports, and I think I heard Adair in the morning mention earlier. Oh, this article has quantum mentioned X number of times. Yeah, again.
Where have we seen this before?
.com.
There was .com.
NFTs. Crypto.
It was the yada 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 crypto. Remember, it was Long Island iced tea was the big one.
Oh,
it was. I'm trying to remember what they changed. It doesn't really matter what they changed names to, but you just throw some crypto, sprinkle like a crypto name in it, and then it was AI, and now it's just like quantum. So introducing Quantum TV Live, which is our new branding. Obviously, we'd never do some nonsense like that. No, it's just, you got to be careful. Be careful, because I think most of the time people don't really know what they're getting into with some of these. All right, a little bit of a dip here in Intel. I want to wet my beak to steal a Sharifism here above VWAP and above 19.8. So just very quickly, just to recap on this one, there's your breakout from Friday highs. That's 1975. Then you put in a local high of 19.8 at the open. So that's kind of the target area. I'm taking 85s now, but that's the target area to be long. And I feel like if you lose this prior bar low, which is 73, it's an easy out. So I want to join the trend always where possible. So Intel, 2% up, looking relatively strong. That's why I like it. and let's see if we can get some continuation. Oh, wow, there goes. Okay, now Rumble wants the high. See? Rumble can do it. Rumble trying to take out that high one more time for your mind. Double top here on Rumble. We've got the trend up. If it fails a 13 break, then I don't mind jumping out and then working my way back into it. So 13 is a level on the daily, so if it fails this breakout, I'd probably tighten it up, make sure we bank the win, and then work on into something else. But the new position for me is joining this Intel long trade, as I just heard another name making a power move. But in the chat there, Scuba Hank NYC. You know what's hilarious? There's a dude in our high school football pool with Sean and myself, and we went to a buddy from high school. He Scuba, and then his name was actually a nickname that he absolutely hated, but that we gave to him in high school. So that reminds me of that. Can you talk about the last 10 1-minute candles on Tesla? So I was mentioning this before, and you can see it as well when I was just showing my Rumble chart. These are all just bad dark pool wicks. So late reporting prints in the dark and all at the same price. It's happening on almost every single stock I'm looking at in North America. So most stocks I'm looking at have it, and I was just showing you Rumble, same thing, different price. So they're just late reporting wicks. The stock is not trading to that price in that moment.
Yeah, I'm kind of just awestruck here with this Rumble, man. I'm just like, all right, well, this thing is now almost a $13 ticker. But again, I was talking to Wayne about this in the pre-market as well. I was like, yeah, it looks pretty solid there. It has a catalyst, 20% short float, and it's holding anchored as well, pretty nicely. Yeah, maybe just watch that anchored VWAP area for any sort of interesting action there. Now, shout out to Wayne. He did have this long off of that $10 level, and I'm pretty sure he's pretty much done with this trade. But this trade is so good, it continues to go, pushing to the upside here, Neil. So it seems like the squeezing action is not done just yet here, giving us again. We talk about some of that holiday spirit. And it's definitely coming in with this rum here on the day. And again, of course, rum always giving us a little bit of that holiday spirit, whether it's a ticker or not, right? So I'm joking. I'm watching.
You need the nog with it, though.
You say you need the nog with it. Yeah. I got to watch. So because I am in the RGTI, I'm also having eyes on this IONQ. Again, same sector. One of the leaders has been doing quite well here on IONQ in terms of market cap. Let's see what IONQ is holding. A $9 billion market cap right here on IONQ, and a bit of a downtrend here. And RGTI holding relatively well as well. So let's see if and when IONQ catches maybe a little bit of a bounce. We're extended to the downside a little bit here, down over about 4 points. Oh boy, what is that? Down $4.20, Neil, with the current low. Interestingly enough. All right, so let's see if this continues to sell off then. But RGTI holding up relatively well on its own catalyst today. Now, I don't know how significant the catalyst is, but the relative strength is what has me a little interested here. Watching CCL as well. We talk about that day 2 earnings on CCL here. Wow, Rumble 13. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing hits 15 today, Neil. With the way this thing's squeezing and
I believe anything the way it's moving.
Yeah, with the way it's moving. Another thing about holiday trading is like, all right, everyone's looking for something to trade, and we're looking for catalysts. We're looking for things with relative volume here. Rumble definitely fulfills a lot of that criteria. 29 times, 30 times relative volume on Rumble, continuing to push to the upside here. So definitely is being participated with. Is Rumble? Everyone's taking part on the rum here as it continues to the upside, and 13s blowing past 13s. Man, this is absolutely wild. I mean, no regrets. Trying not to have a little bit of FOMO there, but that again was in retrospect, sure, was a solid trade to that 13.
You know what psyched you out though?
The wash off. There was
no volume in the pre-market.
Yeah,
none.
That as well.
No volume at all in the pre-market, which usually is indicative of, hey, this is a gap up that might lose it. So I was saying things like, and you can rewind the tape, I'm like, I think Rigetti could be a little bit better today, or like something that was doing volume in the pre-market, and then it did this at the open, which is rinse the bottom, trap some shorts. And once it did that a couple of times, this is where it got. Obviously, you want to have this, if you're not in here, you want to be able to catch it once it's made that breakout, because now hey, there's something happening here you want to be involved in. But once you miss those trades, all you got is the next available dip. And we say this all the time. You just got to look for the next trade, man. Like don't cry over spilt milk, and don't get so much. The thing about getting that, it's not about the FOMO. You get all those regrets in there, and you're like, oh, I've missed a trade, and you can sit there and just be mad at yourself. Find another setup. If it's going to go all day long, there should be other ways to get into it. It's not the same example, but like Intel sustaining this breakout. So now I'm into it. We'll give it into VWAP here, and maybe we can get a press into some of those highs. But the market is not doing a heck of a lot to help this move. As far as I'm concerned, this market does not want to help us whatsoever. We're basically hanging out in the red on the NASDAQ. You got a couple of chip names which are doing okay, but you're hanging out underneath afternoon or close, and then underneath overnight support. So if we can close this in the green, this would look like a failed break of the lows on the NASDAQ and maybe a slow grind higher. But for now, it's looking pretty solid because we're holding on to that bid. So the strong stocks, I don't mind getting back into these longs or getting into some longs. And if you're looking for shorts, I know the name that we like the most. It was ARM. Unfortunately, ARM came all the way down into that wick bottom from Friday and is now bouncing off it. So I might have just completely missed the boat on the ARM short, and I'm not going to chase it down here. Rather play these bounce plays like we just got Intel. We're just showing you back into the high. If it can break out the high, get another fill into 20, and then just ride the trend into the upside. This has been a trend joiners type of day. And as I say that, hey, Rumble just got back underneath 13, Obi.
Yeah.
A little bit of topping tail.
Holding trend quite well here. RZTI coming into some of these consolidation highs. Let's see what that has in store for us. But before that, let's see what's going on in the world of crypto.
There's a lot of crypto-related catalysts we could talk about today. There is that MicroStrategy new Bitcoin purchase here of just over 5,000 Bitcoin, bringing its total to over 440,000 Bitcoin held. But I also want to talk about VanEck's predictions for crypto in 2025. VanEck is an asset management firm. They also do run some ETFs, including SMH, which is a semiconductor ETF. But I'm seeing this article going over some of their predictions here. They called it their 10 crypto predictions for 2025. This was initially published on December 13th, but maybe worth going over, just given that we're almost at the end of this year. They're actually expecting BTC to be valued around 180,000 at highs in 2025, and Ethereum trading above 6,000 at highs. But then they expect a 30% retracement here for Bitcoin, and altcoins here with returns about 60%. They do think there's going to be recovery. So they're seeing a lot, basically, to summarize, of ebb and flow for crypto in the coming years. Keep an eye on BTC and Ethereum with that in mind. Let's also take a look here at these other coins. So Bitcoin here, just go back to this chart because I want to mention we have a bit of an uptrend that was broken here on BTC in the daily chart. So we have these lower highs coming up here. Then as of this move on Thursday after the FOMC sell-off, we struggle a little bit. We had a bottoming tail candle coming back here on Friday as low as, I think 92,000 looks like was our low here, 92,400. And then the weekend sell-off, despite the fact that we actually tried to bounce a little bit this morning. So with that in mind, where's our next potential level of resistance? Let's see what we do here at Friday's low, around that 92,000 level. 92,000 was also a low going back to Thursday, December 5th. So let's see what we do here just above 92,000. We have about 1,000 until we get to that point. As of right now, hanging at around 93.6, down about 2%. Ethereum's basically flat right now, slightly up on the day, around that 3,300 level. XRP down about 2.84%. BNB up 2.7%. Solana up about 1.4%. So very mixed look here for the crypto space. Keep an eye here, and of course, always be safe in these markets, especially with lower volume, given that it is a holiday shortened trading week. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara. Yeah, Rumble continuing to the upside as well. Can't stop, won't stop.
Well, you know what? No, I'm not going to do it. I keep forgetting you can't do that anymore, man.
Can't do what?
Can't do the can't stop, won't stop. It's just not the same.
What do you mean?
Diddy, man. Okay.
Oh, is that who? I don't even know who that's from. I just know it's a saying.
Yeah.
Is that actually from Diddy?
Yeah, that's from.
Oh, damn.
Diddy. Yeah,
I can see how that could potentially make it worse.
Doesn't feel right.
Boy,
Just doesn't feel right. I just can't do it. You can't do it. But Rumble can do it as it continues to go higher. So we keep Rumble hold 13. All right. So by the way, Intel, a weird like 1995 top, which I don't need an offer out in front of that one. We'll let it break out that top. But Rumble needs to hold on to 13. The last couple of times it's gone up, you've been like wick top, trying to hold on to the trend. It did not break. So it looked like it was breaking the trend. Like this bar was a bit of a wick, and then it held on to this prior bar high where my trailing stop was. And once we establish a new one, I'll probably move that trail to continue to go higher. This one has been an absolute rocket ship, but I don't want to look a gift horse in the night. See? How nicely wrapped gift that is. At some point, any squeeze name can do a big reversion back into VWAP or prior highs. So now that you've broken away from 13, I want to give it to the prior bar underneath that. I said if 13 failed, I wanted to jump out of it because it was a level on the daily chart. We got another one running here, DRCT. This one, I mean, on pretty large volume, DRCT has halted several times and is probably going to go into another halt. It's on 12 million shares. This was a penny stock on Friday. It was a penny stock. Heck, it was a penny stock a half an hour ago, and now going into a halt at 156. The issue with this is, count them up. You know, halt up, halt down, halt up, halt down, halt up, no, another halt up. So it's halted multiple times. Doesn't look like it's very stable, but clearly it's going and the trend looks very good. But it's like Rumble is just a safer one in terms of volume and volatility. It's giving you a little bit of both. What's crazy is as Intel just broke the highs, NVIDIA is breaking down. I remember originally was going for the long in NVIDIA and then moved away from that to first AMD and now over to Intel. Well, that's because you're getting a series of lower highs and just weakness on NVIDIA. Whereas this is trending higher, so why not join the strong stock? You know, there's red candles, but it's still trending up. If you pull up a 15-minute, the only red candle provided you with a dip buy opportunity on Intel. So like this is a strong one. NVIDIA is not participating. The market, however, is looking like it might be running out of a little bit of steam in the NASDAQ. Oh,
a little bit of a steam run out here. Let's see what Adara has to say with some breaking news.
Keep an eye on a handful of these Mag 7 tickers here. The information reporting that NVIDIA is looking to rival AWS, of course, Amazon Web Services, with its cloud services and software business. We're also seeing it. This is all coming from the information. Apparently, OpenAI is developing server chips and browser to reduce its dependence on NVIDIA and Google. So this looks like kind of a summary here of headlines from the information. Regardless, being circulated around social media right now, so keep an eye on NVDA, GOOGL, and AMZN. Interesting here, though, that Amazon apparently and NVIDIA both in that server space here, guys. Back to you.
All right, so eSignal. Trade smarter, not harder. Upgrade to an elite trading experience. Analyze, strategize, capitalize, and foresee profitable opportunities with the platform that you need. Infinite data and instant trading. Know where the market is moving before others with lightning-fast data. Charts that change the game. Customize, analyze markets faster your way. Better backtesting and scanning and predict the future by understanding the past. Reliable, real-time data, up-to-the-second market information from hundreds of global markets. It's got everything that you need all in one place, so don't miss a beat. Execute your best trades now. Ready to elevate your trading? Scan the QR code or check the link in the description. eSignal. Solid platform. Bit of a, you were talking about a bit of a wipe somewhere. Where did that happen?
It was in, okay, it's not a wipe. But if you have execution rules to get in, you got to have execution rules to get out. So if I'm joining the trend on Rumble, so there's your break of the high, there's your pullback, and there's your higher low. When it breaks this upward trend and loses 13, I'm going to jump out of the trade. So we got 1160s in. We'll get like 1290 something out. I'll double check in a second. We got filled somewhere in there. But it could still go. But once it broke that trend, if I was bearish, I'd be looking short entry there. But if I'm long, I'm looking cover. So all I'm going to do is cover the trade, look for the next opportunity in Rumble, is get in, get out, Sometimes things slow down in the second half of the day, although, as you can see, like the second it broke that trend, it might actually close this, which would be insane. If this closes the bar at a fresh high after that trend break, this thing probably will hit that 15 you were talking about, Obi. That's nuts. Like it came all the way down to 1260 from 13.4. I trail out, it's right back to 13.25. Rumble is on one at this point. I'm not jumping into anything this high. I feel like that's a little bit crazy, but what a power move there for Rumble. I still have my eyeballs on it. We'll see if we can't find another trade. Intel just broke 20, so why did I not have an order above? Let me just get a couple of fills in there off the 4 and 5 range. So Intel off of VWAP-ish. We got 1982s. It's kind of a random year, but now let's see if we can't get back in. I think 2040 is an ultimate target here. 2040 is an ultimate target on Intel. So scalping out in front of the 10s and then the 20s and then the 30s. Well, it's Intel, so you get it. Every 10 cents is worthy here because it's a $20 stock, right? Like you're not looking for dollar moves on Intel. That's like a 5% move. So you got to respect, like every 10 pennies is half a point. So if we can get that push, I like the 20s, 30s, and the 40s here on Intel. Just joining a strong one that has a nice little gap fill up 2.5%. The market's flat. So obviously some relative strength here in Intel as it continues to go. Been a good day today so far. I mean, the only thing that actually didn't work was just my poor execution on Tesla. And you can argue about the dark pool wicks and all that stuff, but like maybe that little all these bad wicks, maybe misread it and not get back in. But ultimately, 420 does hold, but it holds on the back end of the trade. Still always trying to get it sometimes on the front end. That's just it's a psychological thing. Anytime you find yourself, you love the level, but you don't allow it to give you the trade. I said, hey, look for a failed breakdown underneath. There's your failed breakdown. This is your trade back out in front, and it never looked back and got to VWAP. So if your only red trade is one that technically worked, you just didn't execute poorly, then you should be happy with your day and just look to refine some of these. I feel like my lesson of the day, I should stop talking about this because the lesson of the day is going to involve better execution on something like this. So I don't want to spoil it. Tune back in at 12 o'clock. I'll be talking about a way not to get rinsed or to maybe capture these moves a little bit better. Because the funny thing is, the worse it is for the longs out in front, the better it is on the way back through.
Yeah, so Sharif talking about GameStop breaking out as well right now. He did mention it a little earlier here. So yeah, kind of coming into some prior weeks levels. So interestingly enough,
wow.
Michael Noss was talking about this.
Do it.
About a bunch of people trading from home, and guess what tickers might be running. And he is definitely not wrong there. Look at that prior day high. We do wash it there, and then pulls back into 30 for another push back up. A bit of a double top breakout from last week. We can see Thursday and Friday as well. Let's see if we can get to these highs, 3180s, and some change there from last week. Let's see what we got going on in the sectors with Sector Watch.
A lot of these sectors are really red. Chief among them, retail trade. Walmart leading this group to the downside, getting sued as of this morning by CFPB with regards to some of the driver practices. Keep an eye here in WMT. Costco, Home Depot also to the downside. Finance pretty weak here. Producer manufacturing, consumer services, commercial services, energy, minerals, process industries, consumer non-durables, all to the downside. Now, we do have Eli Lilly, the one bright spot here in health technology. As Sharif mentioned, this morning, their Zepbound is now also approved for sleep apnea, so great look here for LLY. Tesla holding up this consumer durable sector. UNH trying to continue to bounce here along with these health services names. And, of course, the technology sector on watch. There's a distinct difference between these two technology sectors. Tech services a lot weaker across the board. Meta to the upside. We did have Financial Times reporting that they're going to be including displays with their Ray-Ban glasses as of late 2025. And then we also have electronic technology, NVIDIA, Broadcom, AMD, Qualcomm, all nicely to the upside in this sector, guys. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Adair. Rumble's starting to get spicy. It's back underneath that 13. This is where, now that it's pulled back, it broke that trend, you could see another dip into VWAP. The last time it did the same setup, right? Like it looked pretty bearish and then managed to hold out in front of VWAP. And now that it's extended further, sometimes you expect the dip to be a little bit further. So I'd watch for that $12 level there. Oh, DVDR43, you were speaking my language here. Let me shout you out in the chat, first of all. DVDR43, 43. Walmart dip buy here. So I see what's going on in Walmart too, and I will cop to this. And sometimes we get, like we're talking about we're doing our rundown, all that stuff in the morning. I'm stink bidding in front of the 50 period on the daily here, my personal account on Walmart. Like I'm on the bid, I think, what did I put, 87.42 or something like that. I like the number 42. So a lot of times, if I'm bidding in front of 87, decent chance I'm putting 22 or 42, just psychologically, it's fun for me. But what is the meaning of the universe? That's the entire reason. No, but Walmart, on a good stock, trending up, since this earnings in August, like the August lows, 50 period hold, hasn't been able to break it on the way back in. So a DCA in front of that makes sense. I like the $80 level. I'd buy some more in front of 80 as well. So your mind, I'm with you on that one, almost 100%. Whoa, that is one heck of a rejection candle. What the heck was that, Intel? Oh, no, it's not an NZ stock. All right, black chart. Yeah, see that candle in there? Good thing we got some profit out in front of 2040, but this has a chance to pull right back into VWAP on its own. So we're still holding on to actually we're holding on to about 40% of this trade as we only got a couple of legs out, but that's a pretty hefty pullback there on Intel. And a few things did the exact same move. As we're looking at them, just give it a little bit of time to reload. And Intel here, there's the dip. It's still holding on to the prior high, so that's good. But if you get back into VWAP, remember that's where we got in long the first way. We're able to get that 1% move from 19.8 into 20 into over 20s, but you got to be careful when it makes this big of a dip. Not looking super enticing, that dip buy to jump on the bid. I'm gonna hang back. Like there's no need to rush back into this trade unless we're getting the price that we want, and we can still play in the upward trend. And I think some of that might have had to do with what just happened. I just looked over at NVIDIA. Like NVIDIA had just gotten above VWAP, and then it lost VWAP, probably dragged a few things down with it. So NVIDIA's up 1%, but it hasn't looked as strong as the other chip names. It's trying to do a rounded bottom, whereas Intel and AMD have been consistently strong the whole way through, Obi.
Yeah, those chips are pretty holding their move relatively well, and not only just AMD and Intel, Neil, it's TSM as well. So TSM holding relatively well as well. Here we can take a quick look on TSM. So you can see holding above that VWAP, bit of a toppy action here, 204s, but holding, consolidating pretty much sideways here, distinctly different from the Nasdaq as of right now. But taking a look at some of these other chip names, you can look at Micron distinctly different to the downside as well. We were looking at ARM in the morning session. We kind of pulled back up into so I put in that anchored, if you guys remember, on that flush that we had coming in on Friday, and then that flush continues right off of the open. That was really nice if you were looking for that continuation of that initial reaction. Comes back into that anchored VWAP from Friday and holding as of right now. So going to be interesting to see where this one closes relative to that anchored going into the close today. And SMCI on watch as well, kind of consolidating tightly here with a high of 3260s. Couldn't quite get past this pre-market high, so a bit of a double topping action at that 32 and change, 3260s there on SMCI after giving us that strong push on Friday up into 3340s for a pullback down. Look at this consolidation in the afternoon session, consolidating sideways in a tight range for over about 2.5 hours here. We're trading just below that, but look at these bottoms here. Every time it's come up here, we've kind of knocked on it, kind of bid back up, making lower highs. We double topped as well. So let's see what SMCI has in store for us here, but not really doing what the market is, because the market's holding up really well, and SMCI trading looking a little bit weaker than the rest of these some of these chip names here. Let's see what else there is. CCL to the downside as well. CCL looking weak. HMC, Honda Motor Company, that one was one on the watch list this morning with their news of a potential merger with Nissan, and look at that. in the pre-market doing some significant volume, but then again, this ticker probably doesn't do as much volume on the daily here. We can take a look at what the daily average volume is. 1.52 million shares daily 30-day average. We've already traded about 2.2 million, and it hasn't even been about 2 hour or an hour and a half since the open here, coming into that 11 o'clock mark. So a lot of interesting moves. What have you guys been trading? Don't tell me Rumble, RGTI. We've already been looking at those. Have you guys been trading anything else? I know I was watching Nike as well for a day 2 move. Nike had a strong move off of the open there. Let's pull this chart back in. Nike was looking good off of the open, but giving it back here on Nike. Yeah. So So I still have some charting here from last week on this name. I did take this reversion off of the anchored. It came in pretty nicely here. Reversion to VWAP, and you can see the price pretty much compressed beautifully between the anchored between intraday VWAP as well. Absolutely beautiful compression there going into the close. And today we attempted to break the range at the high, but we're consolidating tightly back underneath anchored VWAP. Let's see what Adair has to say with Money Talks, though.
Here is the US dollar, still trying to hold on here to these recent breakout areas that we've made. We had this push up here on Wednesday as the rest of the market fell during the FOMC meeting. PXY pushed higher. We did fall a little bit on Friday with a stronger than, or I guess in line, Michigan consumer sentiment print there, but lower than expected Michigan consumer inflation prints for the longer term. Now trying to bounce off of that drop from Friday. As of right now, we're in that 108.2 level. We did get a weaker than expected CB consumer confidence print here for December, so our second consumer confidence print after Michigan's a little bit lower than expected, 104.7 versus 112.9 expected. The prior number here was 111.7, but it was actually revised upwards to 112.8. So this number, regardless, coming in below expectations here. So consumers not as confident, according to the CB metric, as previously expected. We did also get some new home sales data coming through. This was a revision here for November, 5.9% here for new home sales change month over month. That is compared to the forecast of 9.8% and the previous print of negative 17.3. So lower than the forecast, higher than the previous print there for these home sales. It is going to be a lighter week for everything, including for some of this economic data. But tomorrow, despite the shorter day, we actually do get Richmond Fed Composite Index coming through at 10 a.m. So I'll give you guys that number at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Keep an eye as well on the 2-year note auction coming through at 1 p.m., guys. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Adara.
Yeah,
we're just actually, you know what? Let me go to, we have less than 10 minutes to go. So let me address something here with AMD. AMD, which ultimately I got out of AMD and went long Rumble and Intel. Now Rumble went $1 on a $12 stock, so you can't be mad with it. It's like, okay, well, AMD was losing the breakout level that I liked. At the moment, it's like, get back into AMD or prioritize Rumble. Ultimately, you could argue it's the same trade, but like I just like the volume on Rumble, it just felt like it was the more likely to go. That said, if you look at where AMD I think is headed, it all comes back down to this channel for me. And this, we talked about this in several contexts, but AMD has been channel down since this test of October's high. So like it bounced off the October low, there's your higher low, there's your higher highs, and it did this trend. So since it made that top and pulled back in, it's very cleanly been bouncing off the bottom of this trend line. That bounce on Friday. It's more like 130, the top of the trend line here, and that's more just an area. But if AMD presses into this 128, that's a mean reversion for me. If I see this move another $1, a couple of dollars here, I'm going to look for the short in AMD based on that trend. You have to remember, yes, it is strong today, and it did a couple of breakout trades today. But when it gets into there, I got to respect the reason why this is maybe a technical move in AMD, which is the channel on the daily. So higher time frame picture says when it gets into here, start looking for resistance levels. Still a couple of dollars to go. And if it gets there, I'll look for the reversion. Not yet, but certainly going to be on watch for me. In the middle of the day, in the afternoon, all that good stuff. What looked like another chance for GameStop to break 32, it failed 31 and back at VWAP. So it's still got a shot, But every single time I say, wake me up when this gets to 32, and we're not getting to that 32 level yet. I don't want to completely give up on it. Still up a couple points here. And I think you got to look. Sometimes on days like today or weeks like this week, you got to look on over to some of the small cap names. One of them that's now really on the radar, I see Looks Bright and Luke's Bright, or if that's your name in the chat, and a few others. What an unbelievable V shape here for QBTS. This thing dropped a full $1 after failing a breakout of Friday's high, and it's right back at Friday's high and above it. That's a pretty bullish look. So I think it's got a very decent shot here. Like, look at the consolidation on a 15-minute, more clear that if it can hold above $8, give you like an entry between 8 and 8.20, consolidate there, any breakout's got a ton of room, minimum to 8.50 and then the $9 level. So this is going to be on the radar in addition to looking for a re-entry into Rumble, which could be tricky. Like this one, I thought we'd pull back into VWAP after that trail out. Rumble wants no part of it. Rumble just continues off the high. So I don't really have an entry yet into Rumble. This is not a time to rush into it. It's, you know, it's 10:55. I think if you have a strong trend, there should be a couple of opportunities in. But QBTS now on the radar for me. And I see a few people saying, look at Snapchat. Why? Is Snapchat doing something I should be paying attention to? What's Snapchat up to today? Oh, that's not good. Oh, and here I thought maybe we'd be looking at something a little bit more bullish. Yikes. Yeah, Snapchat down 3 points. Well, you know, the good thing is you can trade in both directions. Because Snapchat, if this loses like 1080, that looks like a good flat bottom break for a short, certainly. I don't know if there's much I see here unless, I guess today you could look for a long off the bottom reverting because the market seems to want to climb back up. Like, it's not a terrible look. There's been support down here underneath $11. But for a bigger opportunity, I'd say, given that this is pulling back, it looks more like a continuation short under the 50 period. Sometime this week would be a better trade. But yeah, but a scalp trade off the low doesn't look too bad here on Snapchat. I'd stay away. Like, I want to stick with the strong stocks, man. Like Rumble, getting back into Rumble should be a priority for me because it's a strong one.
Yeah, Rumble is aggressive. Like, we're about to print some fresh highs. Yeah. How crazy is that?
You can't stop this thing.
It's just yeah. Again, one of the I would argue one of the best moving tickers on the day when it comes to some of these small mid caps. And yeah, holding trend very, very well with that catalyst. And again, we talk about some of the short float, right? Short float definitely playing a little bit of a part here. Yep. Along with that catalyst, we did almost 20. I think it was Finviz said 21% on Rumble. Let me just make sure once again here. Yeah, short float. Yeah, 21.42%. On Rumble is the short float, and look at that. Every little pullback gets bought right back up here and continues to the upside. So I'm sure if you throw up like a moving average or you throw up some sort of a trend, again holding trend lines as well, you can see that it's holding up its gains quite well. No real kind of trend break in trend just yet, but I don't know if I want to. I wouldn't know if I want to. Revert this ticker just yet with the kind of strength it's showing.
It's too strong.
Again, if you want to call it holiday trading, even though it's doing some decent amount of volume on the day today. VWAP all the way down at 1172. What did you say? Amazon? Oh boy, all right. What is Amazon up to, Sharif? Amazon breaking some fresh highs of the day right now. So yeah, thanks, Sharif. I'll keep an eye on that one there. And kind of a laggard when it comes to some strength here. Tesla catching a bit of a bounce as well, not yet quite at its high a day. So it seems like out of these Mag 7, we've got to check Meta real quick as well.
Tesla looks good,
Mag
man.
7,
Tesla looks good.
Amazon is the first one to break high a day right now, Neil. So market coming in there, we held that 21.5 pretty well. We talk about this area kind of showing us a little bit of a bid a couple of times, and we get a strong flush through that 21.5 and catching a nice little bit up to 21.6s. So a bit of a 100-point move there on the NASDAQ as well. Continuing to make lower highs and lower lows, though. Bigger picture is so far what I'm seeing here on both the futures. So interestingly enough, 13 halves on Rumble. Oh boy, Neil.
It can't be stopped.
Where's the next trade?
I mean, like, there's no, you have to take the first available dip. I think a lot of times, like, you can want something to set up. I was just pointing out Tesla actually looks really strong. It broke through the VWAP resistance at 428. It's now holding another trend after a pullback into VWAP. So I think this one, like, for a join on the next available dip, it makes sense. And when I say the next available dip, sometimes you just gotta, like, look at it. When it starts going red, you can get out. But the second it makes that reversion, and it's right in here. You know, like, okay, like, this is where it dipped to, big, strong hold, and then look at it hold, nice little tight consolidation off 13, which allows you, like on this candle here, you could be long 13.20 with a stop under this prior bar high, 12.95. If you can find a trade on a stock trading like this for 25 cents worth of risk, when its moves are like $1 on trend, like this last trend when you get in, it's a, no, it's not a perfect exit, but I'm still getting $1.30 on a bad trail out. Like, you can be holding, you can get a better exit here and be getting $1.50. So 25 cents risk is actually pretty good because you can get 1-to-1 on that in a couple of minutes. On a 3-minute chart, you're getting that on a single bar. I think sometimes just the first available dip, forget about something like VWAP, and then just try to get into the trade. And, you know, we're just trying to educate in real time. Like, I didn't get back into this, and I think I was looking for too big of a dip back in, and unfortunately, it doesn't want to give it to me. I do want to point out a couple of things. We haven't talked much about crypto, so I wanted to go over on why do I have a 5-minute up? Sometimes I feel like my trading view chart changes time frames on its own, or I'm just going crazy. But if you look at what's going on in Bitcoin, it's holding underneath 94. We have a nice consolidation. It looks like we're trending back into this 92 level. So when I see that, my first thought is, okay, we're probably bleeding on Mara and might have missed a short trade. I don't know why I wasn't thinking short in Mara like usual today, because that could have been easy. That's low-hanging fruit there when it failed 20 bucks. That said, if Bitcoin's going to bounce off of 92, then Mara at Friday's low looks like a bit of a mean revert. Where else is Mara? There's your 200 period moving average that's trying to hold on. So it's coming back into a key resistance, into a support level, and if you can look at it, it's trying to mean revert here. We've already got one bottom at 19, and if you put a trend line from here, you have a chance to break this trend line, hold on to 19 even, and pull back into VWAP. So I got Mara on the mind as well. Is it already 11 o'clock? Yeah,
it's already 11.
Yeah, whatever. Sometimes I just see an opportunity. I'm like, hey, this trade is setting up, and I want to get that out to you guys. But apparently it is 11 o'clock. Rumble's at $14.
15s maybe.
Because of course it is. It's going to 15, it looks like. But it's been a fun one this morning. Can't believe how quickly time flies. But we're sending you guys to the Bash Brothers. It's Sharif. It's Joseph. We'll be back at 2 o'clock. Go get them.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade During the Midday. That is your boy, Joey Options, and I'm Sharif, and we did not plan this.
You know what? I didn't even really take it in until we came up on the screen.
I know, it's
but we've been doing that the past couple days.
I don't know, bro. Whatever. We think alike, man. Yeah. Shout out to a proper dang Paradox. Jared, they are joining us in the house as well. Shout out to ADL, Adam DeLuce. Ho, ho, ho. Good morning to you as well, my man. We're going to wait for everyone to come on over from the other stream and then give the old shout out. Are you buying Bitcoin this holiday fire sale? The answer is yes. Fabian, make sure to go and have a look at the polls. We're going to throw up a few polls in the chat. Shout out to New York City Urbanista and Fat Figa. Whatever you say, bruh. I know. He doesn't believe us. He thinks we're organizing. Shout out to Brandon Townsend and Benson. We got drops, trades, and the world's greatest mod. Hasn't rolled over yet. That's okay. It's okay. We're going to wait. We're no rush today. Kind of a holiday shortened week, obviously. We can kind of take it easy. Get some good small cap gapper trades because that's kind of what's moving today, guys. Multiple triple-digit winners. Still waiting for everyone to come on over from the other stream. YouTube taking its sweet time. It's on holiday time too. These algos, these programs, they need love as well. So I guess we'll keep waiting for the people to come on over. All right, I'm just going to start talking, and then as I see people coming over from the other stream, we'll start addressing them. So here's what we're looking at so far in terms of small cap gappers. DRCT, the biggest, the baddest mover of the market today, up a light 256%, currently halted to the upside right now. I've got my eye on ZDGE or ZDGE for my American friends. This was also up 34%, looking awfully good here above the VWAP and the 10 exponential. And how can I not mention GameStop? We traded this one to no end on Friday as well. So we'll look to get some more GameStop trades in today. But TRAW getting my attention right now as it works into that volume weighted average price in around 15 bucks. This one's also up 203%. Keep an eye on that. Rigetti, the boys were talking about this one in the morning show. We'll keep an eye on it, up about 22% or change. RAPT, this was a triple-digit winner until it wasn't, and now it's breaking down below that volume weighted average price. So we will we'll give that one a look when it reclaims, if it reclaims VWAP, RELI, and then the biggest and the baddest of them all printing into the high day right now. Rumble, RUM, up 94%, looking to go triple digits. Not sure what's going on with the stream, guys. We're not getting anybody rolling over, so let's have a look at that production team if we're able to, where nobody's coming in quite yet, so we just got to make sure it's all good there. Fabian on the job, so we'll keep an eye out on that, guys. Looks like ZDGE going to halt to the downside here at 308. I don't have my trading screen up, but I can just